Good morning, people kind. Welcome back to Fresh, Slick, and Mick. This is episode 42 of Windsor, Ontario's finest modern millennial brodown. Sitting here with my brother Benny Alexander from the local poetry scene. And of course, I am your host, Jay Fresh. Got my brother, Mitchy Slick, and Pope Mickey the First here as well. How y'all doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm super happy to be here. I'm like super stoked.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I as soon as I mentioned this, these guys were like, "Oh, fuck yeah!" We just knew it would be good.
It's true. My voice cracked and everything. I was like, "Oh, fuck yeah!"
No, it's weird. Like I'm a huge fan of you guys, and the only person I really knew was Fresh here. So and I'm again like the podcast is awesome. So it's I almost was like nervous to be here.
Yeah,
but I am definitely happy to be here too.
Oh man, you should. I mean. See, you know what's funny? So I'm going to fast forward a little bit here, but like you were literally the first poet I ever saw on a stage locally.
Oh, shit.
Did you know that? So the fact that you might be nervous is like crazy, man. What did you do? You did this in front of people, bro.
It's different. I don't know. It could be my fear of hearing my own voice, which I think is a pretty common fear of people.
We all hate it.
Yeah.
It's just 'cause in our heads we know, or we think we know what we sound like, but it's not what we sound
it's
like.
Not.
At all.
That's why I don't listen to this thing. I fucking hate my voice so much.
It's a beautiful voice, man.
Thank you.
You should be proud.
Thanks. I'll try from this point on.
Give her a shot, bud.
Thanks.
How you doing, Slick?
I've had a stressful 2 weeks, but I'm much better now.
How were the 29 years before that?
He got me.
Yeah, okay.
Much
So
more
it's
stressful
been
than
about
that.
the same, man.
Yeah, pretty much, I guess.
And Mickey,
All
my
levels
friend?
out.
Clean shaven friend? What the fuck is this?
Trimmed up my beard and my trim having completely cut off.
I just put up a video of you from 2017, and you were the shaggiest you've ever been.
Yeah.
I don't even recognize this person.
No, it wasn't growing right. It literally I was not taking care of it like I normally do when I want it to grow out. So I just starting over. It'll grow back in like 3 weeks.
Is this new professional Mickey I have to deal with? Because I don't know if I can handle that
Oh
shit.
no, beard's coming back.
Okay.
Jeez.
Thank God. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's a little weird. I mean, I'm just used to with like,
More facial hair.
and yeah,
Massive
not seeing your
fucking
face.
beard. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's coming back. It just wasn't growing right, and it was kind of wiry. So
Fair
I
enough.
heard a couple girls the other day talking shit about how every guy has some level of beard now, and I was like, well, yeah. And then I'm like, oh shit, they're right. Like maybe I should just shave it like just to be different. I don't know. Is that stupid?
No, well, it's
man.
everyone's doing it, and they're looking for not it. See, my thing is more so it's nice that it's more accepted because now it's less work.
No, that's for sure.
As much as I did just bitch about the fact that my beard wasn't growing in right, but again, I was growing it long, so it gets a little bit different. But no, it's just like, you don't see anybody without a beard these days.
Yeah, because beards are sick. So fuck those bitches.
Yeah, fuck you.
Man, every girl's got like a pumpkin spice latte, straight hair, and they're all trying to be like Kim Kardashian or some shit. So fuck that.
See,
we
though,
can grow our natural facial hair.
Yeah,
work
you're
with
right.
a girl
You're right.
who owns it like 100%. She's like, oh, I can't wait for October. And, like, she's blonde and the whole thing, and
Yeah.
like platinum blonde. I'm like, oh, why? She's like, pumpkin spice lattes. Like she's like, I own that shit.
You know, she's
good for
saying this
you.
now. She's saying this in February.
No, she did this like back in like September.
The question is, does she know she can just make a pumpkin spice latte whenever? Like it doesn't have to be the fall.
True, but it's just
true.
tis the season, right?
I guess. I don't know.
Tis the season to be spicy.
Bang, what's your hot take on general popular images?
Well, honestly, like it's my beard is shit. Like it's it's catchy. I tried for so long to like grow it out, and it looks like pubes on my face, man. It's so brutal, and like right at the chin, it's curly. It's not very attractive. But like my fiance seems to like when I have facial hair. So you know what?
That's all that matters.
That's it.
She's happy, and boom. It's I try and keep it as manageable as possible. Mostly just just a little like short, like not too crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I couldn't. I saw the video. I think it was of you. like in like I think it was like the post you're talking about. And
Yeah, in the car.
it was a pretty good beard, man. I could never even dream of having a beard that.
That was
like,
a 2-year beard.
2-year beard.
Yeah, this kid's beard.
So is this. Like I'm not even kidding.
I've seen way worse beards though. I mean,
it's
like
true.
the neck beard. Like the people that
yeah.
literally grow a beard down here and then nowhere else. It's
Yeah,
like, bro, what
that's
are
a
you doing,
bad
man?
look.
That's I have that problem because like mine will like grow down. Basically.
Oh, really? Eh?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's this is all I got.
Well, the thing is, when I had my really long beard, I had the full neck beard was going on because when it was that long, if I just kind of went around my jawline, it just looked scraggly. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
it just hang. So when you have that kind of fullness, it works.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
your
but-
shit came together. It was,
Yeah, but the thing is,
proper.
like, but you gotta meet that level eventually.
yeah,
So
exactly.
that's all.
But no,
Anyways.
I feel like it's even in like my workplace. I work in like a corporate America, and like all the guys have beards and like tattoos, and like it's a huge thing now. And like it's funny because you can tell when people want to show them off, and like you might speak to this Fresh, when like people like roll up their sleeves,
Yeah.
and they have. Like
All
tattoos
day.
on their forearms,
Yeah, I
like all on
guess.
their upper arms, just to show them off. But even in the workplace, though, like in my workplace, it's pretty common and it's pretty acceptable. So
It is funny how everything we were told as kids is just utter bullshit. Like you gotta look like this. You can't have tattoos to show. You don't even need hygiene anymore. Everybody's just kind of fucking down.
Yeah, that's out the window. Fuck
Well, hold on though. Remember that last show we went to? There was a lot of good smelling metalheads there, which was weird.
Oh yeah, Mickey and I went to the show. Well, okay, but that was different too, because it was like kind of so. Dance Gavin Dance is like a jazz fusion rock band, and they were the actual headliners. But we were there to see Periphery, who's a technical metal band.
Okay.
And we're just like we stood out like sore thumbs, and we weren't like in ripped jeans and old faded concert shirts or anything.
But we definitely weren't like everybody
But
else.
we weren't like them. We're like, this is fucking weird. And everybody smelled so nice. That never happens at a metal show. And then just like as
Whoever the hell
the
it was.
third undercard got off the stage, and they were weird too. They were like pop.
Yeah, they did their Simple Plan jumps.
Yeah,
Quite often.
yeah.
Nice.
okay.
And Periphery like started setting up and everything. We saw like just these dirty, grungy old motherfuckers come out, and we're like, "There's our
Fresh couldn't even hold it together. He starts fucking laughing.
Yeah.
And the dude who was in front of us turned around and was like, "What?" And Fresh like, "We've been waiting for you, motherfuckers."
you smell like home."
Well, and then when Periphery started going, like that's not like a huge dick or anything, but like the real moshing kind of happened, and you could see that like the other guys are kind of like, "Yeah, we're getting into it," and then they go, "Wait,
Yeah,
no,
they all walk
these guys
away.
are big."
So like real moshing, so like fake moshing is like this like push mosh,
Well,
where it's like it's
just that the guys were bigger, and like they would like they'd grab you, they'd toss you, but again, it's all in good fun. Like you fall, they pick you up, but it's just like it's just a little bit different, and there's less hardcore dancing and shit.
I get it. Like it's like I grew up in like the hardcore scene in Windsor. It's funny. I never really went to a lot of hardcore shows like that weren't local. But yeah, I was like a huge part of like the hardcore scene like back in the day. So like I never really moshed though. I
You
was
didn't mosh? You didn't throw down?
I was a big huge pussy. Like,
Hey man.
like I
Me too.
if I got like the like amped up enough, I would like like push mosh.
yeah,
Sure.
But I never really like threw fists or like spin kicks or.
See, the thing about moshing is it's like the stupidest shit in the world besides normal dancing. Like it's just like everybody looks like a fucking moron. There's an extremely good chance you're gonna get hurt. Like not 10%, like 80%.
yeah, for fun.
And everybody and like still like I see a pit open up and I'm just like, what happens, Mickey?
Well, yeah, you're in it, and before my hip got super bad, we were both in it, no fucking problem.
Yeah, you just go. It's a magnet.
Well, to be fair, you also jacked. So being jacked in the pit helps you.
But,
But
dude,
it
the
does.
thing-
It
but
does a
there's
little bit.
like first of all, look at Gimpy here.
Freaking 100-pound soaking wet.
Maybe that's why you need a cane now.
One of the wild. Okay, I know this is not what we're talking about, but I got to tell the story. So one of the wildest things I ever saw: Protest the Hero at the Dominion House.
Oh my
Okay.
god.
Okay. Yeah, weird. But they chose to go there several times. They liked it. I guess kind of the old vibe, right? They're hosers. So Tiny little venue, DH. I mean, the audience area is probably about as wide as this room, not very big.
For fun, yeah.
And so protest starts up, and like Mickey's just like nobody's doing it. He's looking around, like waiting for the pit. Like low meta head Mick here. He's waiting for the pit, and so, so this little motherfucker goes in, and you can just see the top of his head and like people swaying. It looks like trees swaying in the breeze, and it's just Mickey going in and like shoving people around. Yeah. And eventually the fucking pit gets going and everything. So me and another couple friends were like sitting in the back just laughing, right? Because this is not the place for a pit. And then Mickey tries to get out of it, and so he's like coming around. You know how the pit's got like a general circular motion kind of. So he's like coming around, and he like reaches for me, and I reach out for him, and then he just gets sucked back in and disappears. And like the three of us standing there, like, oh no, where'd he go?
He's dead. He's definitely dead.
You just and then you came out, and your hip was all fucked up again.
And I have so many like terrible stories of being in like pits. I went to it was like I think it was called Taste of Chaos.
Back in the day.
And I think it was like Aiden, like something they're not really like memorable to be honest with you.
Okay.
But I think it's called like the Wall of Death, where like they like it spreads.
Yeah.
So I was thinking like logically in that scenario, right? So everyone spreads out, and it's right before like he hits the first like note, I run up the pit of death right to the front of the floor.
Like you're playing Red Rover.
Oh my god! So I totally bypassed all these people that were like waiting in line for the whole day.
He's like, I'm just right now. See, no, I love how he said, I took a step back and assessed the logic of it. Wall, death. This doesn't sound like a good idea.
I was right in the middle of the floor, so like I was like right on the wall. So like I was gonna be like running into these people, and I'm like, I'm not gonna fucking do this.
Yeah.
I'm going right in front of the stage.
So I got right to the point. It was hilarious.
That's hilarious.
It was a buddy of ours, Shell. He taught me that. He's no bigger than Mickey. He might even be smaller.
He's smaller than me. Yeah.
Is he? Fuck yeah.
Not by much, but still noticeably enough.
He's a little
Makes
dude.
me feel
Yeah,
better.
we were at a show in London, and he's like, you want to go up front? I'm like, dude, it's wall to wall here. I'm not fitting through. He's like, no, just wait for the pit to open up. You just go in. I'm like. This little dude's gonna go in. So he goes in and he kind of like swings his arm and legs around a little bit, but he's not actually moshing, he's dodging people. He looks like fucking Jet Li going through here. And then all of a sudden he's at the front. I was like, son of a bitch. That was 10 years ago. I've used that tactic ever since, front center.
There is an art to like getting to the front of a venue especially when people are moshing. Like I think there is an art, because I've always tried to like push my way through the crowds to get as close as I can. But I feel like going right to the front can be a little bit problematic, because people are like pushing you up against a guardrail. That's fucking
Well, when we saw BT Vam, oh my god.
Which time? Last time?
I think it was the last time that you and I went. I had to control my breathing, because as soon as BT Van came out, everyone just rushed the stage. I had zero chance. So I was like, okay, I have to decompress my lungs, or I'm going to fucking start panicking.
You're floating, your feet aren't even
it was insane.
All right. Enough of this concert talk. But we are talking about the arts today. The arts in general, poetry specifically. Benny, you've been a face of the Windsor poetry scene for quite a while, man.
Quite a while. It's been... Honestly, last week was 7 years.
7 fucking
which
years.
Is fucking
Jesus.
Be fucking ridiculous. Like it's crazy how long I've been doing this for. And I guess how it started was I was in Toronto for school, which didn't work out. But I went to this poetry event, or poetry slam.
Yep.
In Toronto at the Drake. And I was fucking like just like mind blown of all these poets that were like on the stage, and I'm like, why doesn't my first thought was, why doesn't Windsor have this? Or if it does, I don't know about it.
Right.
So I was there for a year in Toronto, and then I came back, and I kind of looked around for poetry events, and there wasn't really anything that was really catching my eye. And then I went online, and I found like Toast, and it was a thing before I came along. So Toast Open Mic Poetry is the event I've been putting on for the past 7 years.
Okay.
And yeah, so it just wasn't really a thing anymore. So I knew somebody who frequented the poetry events, Coley Kaufman, and she was a poet as well. And I asked her to go with me, and then we asked Fog Lounge if they wanted to support this thing again, and then they did, and then the rest is history. And
What was it before that? Before you guys started Toast?
I think it was Toast still. It was at Fog, and then it was at like Juice Express.
Yeah.
And for a while, it was called like Juice.
Juice, yeah.
I think Juice was like the first incarnation. Then it became Toast, and then I don't know how much time in between, like Tamara's time, who's like another poet.
I remember her. Yeah, I was there for when her and that other guy showed up. That was an amazing.
Nasir, yeah.
It was pretty rad. But
That
yeah,
was
so
so
she
cool.
was, she's like the original Toast of Toast. And then I came along and yeah, and like so my co-host she left I think like 7 months in, which is fine because I kind of like took it upon myself just to keep it going, and you know, up until this point, it's been like my poetry baby, and it's and unfortunately, like I'm kind of taking a step back. It's hard to keep something going for 5 years, let alone 7 years.
Oh yeah, it is.
And
On your own.
yeah, on my own. And part of me wanted to hit 10 years. I'm like, 10 years would be fucking sweet. But I mean, like, it's 10 is just 10. It's just a number. Like I'm core 7. Again, I was doing all my own too. Like, you know, I was doing like the promotion. I was like just going off to like other like businesses and like postering and like basically kind of like almost like punk rock in a way. It's kind of funny. We're kind of like tying it back to like the whole like punk like rock scene, because I feel like there was a big tie to like the music scene and the poetry scene, especially like for me growing up in the punk scene. Like that's how I kind of gravitated towards poetry, was the community behind it.
Right. So did that sort of inform? Your whole approach to everything?
I think so. Yeah, it did. Like, again, it's. I just wanted to like create a space where people can share their art, and we've had so many people come and go, which really breaks my heart. And when people, I think the whole thing is the poetry scene should be there for people when they need it. And if they don't need it, they can always step away and always can come back if they need it again.
Yeah, that's beautiful, man. Do you have anybody who's been there like the whole time besides you?
Sam. Yeah, Sam. Like who was like a
Plug Sam.
fellow
Sam's
poet.
dope.
Yeah, like Sam is great. She's the youth poet laureate of Windsor,
Yeah.
and she has a book coming out this year.
Yeah, I saw
actually,
that, yeah.
and I'm super excited for her and her like poetry journey. But yeah, I'm super pumped for her. But yeah, she's one of the OGs. I feel like a couple people have been in and out of the scene. One of the poet, TJ. He hasn't really been around that often, but he was one of the original poets who came and supported me when I first had Toast. But besides that, though, I mean, like honestly, I feel like our number one fan as a poetry community is Ryan. Like Ryan.
Oh yeah, man.
Like
yeah.
he's been that guy. I love that guy. He's been to every single one of my poetry events since I started in 2013.
Oh my
Like
goodness.
every single one. And not only that, like I have other events that I host like besides poetry, and he fucking comes to every single one too. Like he's the man, and I love that guy.
Yeah, man. So yeah, Ryan is like. So he was the was it a slam master?
He was. He hosted a bunch.
The MC.
He hosted a bunch. He was on like the slam board, and if you want to get into the slam too, we definitely can.
Yeah, we'll touch on that after.
But
Yeah.
it can be later. But yeah, yeah. So like being like an organizer, it's definitely hard to sustain like a space for. I think as long as I'm pretty proud of what I've done. But it definitely is hard, like especially when the audience isn't there.
Yeah.
And then, of course, like it's funny. Every anniversary show we have, people always want to come out because it's special. But it's
It's the same thing.
it's just another day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a celebration, and people want to be a part of it. But it's so. It's honestly, it's kind of frustrating. Even though I appreciate all the support that people come, like when they come. But honestly, like it's like, the anniversary shows are always the most like well attended and packed houses, which is kind of funny to me. But I guess people just want to be a part of something special.
Yeah, man. I don't know if you remember this. I snaked my way into the lineup on the 5-year. Do you remember that?
I don't really.
You're not gonna hurt my feelings, bro.
You know what's funny? So go ahead.
Well, no. So I was like, because I didn't realize it was the anniversary that day. So I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna go out. And I had actually read at the open mic portion of Slam, but I hadn't read at Toast yet.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, I'm gonna do tonight. And then I walk in and it's like packed house, and I was expecting the same 5 people I've seen for 6 months. I was like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
So, but you let me in, and I rocked, and it was good. It was fucking really good. It definitely helped me get over that performance anxiety because, goddamn.
If I may, do you remember what you presented?
No.
You know what's funny? I've had poets be like, "Oh, I'm this poet. Do you remember what I like? What I said a poem about X, Y, whatever, right?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, I've probably seen or heard. So if you think about it, 7 years times like 12 months times like 10 poets, like times
3
like 3 poems.
Yeah.
I'm like, I remember your like you and your face, but your poem. I'm sorry. I just like there's only a handful of poems that I probably do like remember, but it's like one hand.
What do you remember?
Oh,
Honestly, it's honestly on like the same on like the national stages.
Yeah.
is where I've heard like one poet Nina. Like she was so when we were there for the Windsor Poetry like slam team. This one poet Nina did like this amazing poem about being on like a bus and her anxiety, and it just like shattered my universe. And I don't really know again like I remember like it's more like I remember like the feelings I felt rather than the actual content of the piece. Yeah. And I remember like just feeling like so shattered while she was doing it. It was really so she was speaking on how like her like anxiety I guess wraps itself around her, and she used like the cord of the mic to kind of like put a visual of that metaphor. So as she was doing it, she was like going like she was like shaking. Her arms are shaking, and she's going like this and wrapping the cord around her arms. I just had chills.
Yeah,
I just had chills just thinking about that, and it just blew me away. And a couple poets from the local scene. You know, like it's say poems like pretty frequently. That kind of becomes like their staple.
Yeah.
But again, like I've heard so much. And I'm grateful that I've heard that much because I've heard so many stories and so many like people's like truth.
Yeah.
It's definitely. I definitely feel privileged that I've heard so many artists over the years.
if I may, because you were saying that one of the
You know you're like a third of the show, right? You don't have to say that.
if I may, because like I feel like everyone's like wants to jump in, right? But anyways, when you were talking about how Nina's spoke to you, one of your poems has actually still resonated within me.
Oh wow!
The one where you talk about future of possible children and stuff like that, and like honestly, like again, the what exactly was said, you know, is kind of foggy, but the substance does. And I talk about every time like kind of poetry comes up. I'm bringing up Benny, going like, "Hey man, this."
I didn't even know that. There you go, bro.
It super resonated to me. I'm like, holy
Man,
fuck.
that means a lot to me. I appreciate that.
Because like for me, like I hate to see people hurt, and I hate to see people hurt so much so that they need an outlet to express themselves in it. Like I don't. It pains me to see people in so much pain.
That's why
But
you're the Pope.
it resonated in me again to this day. Just wanted that's a little ego rub.
That's
for you.
awesome, man. No, I appreciate that. It means a lot. Like it's again, I'm usually like pretty, I guess, like modest. Like I don't know how to even react to people. Like I've had people like just like randomly. Like, I was at the gym once, and the guy's like, "Oh man, you're Benny, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh, I really love your poetry." I'm like, That's cool, man. Like, I don't know how to react. Like, I'm not the type that to like be like, oh, I'm the fucking greatest poet alive.
Yeah, of course.
But I mean, like it's
fresh.
But I do.
That's the type he is.
I'm just kidding. Far from it.
No, like Fresh is a pretty rad poet as well. It's hard to.
Oh no, I wasn't saying he was a rad poet. I was saying he thinks he's the best.
Egotistic. Yeah.
I'm just kidding. He's good.
I got you back. You're right.
And that's all. Fuck Benny.
Good show, everyone.
And I'm out.
No, I said, you kind of have a reputation. Well, okay, fuck you, but
I'm sorry, man.
No, you had a mouthful of liquid, so you're trying to spit all over the console.
as long as
true.
you think you're funny, Slick, that's all that matters.
No, I thought what Bunny said was funny. You're all right. Anyway, go on.
No, Benny, you have kind of a reputation for for a couple styles, but like distinctly, you are able to do like love poetry, and I mean, to do that well and in an interesting way, I think that's pretty rare. Like I suck at it because I don't. You know, and I'm not saying this is a good thing, but like my experience is generally I don't look at things with that lovely lens. So I a lot of times when if I'm trying to write a poem about my girlfriend, I'm like, what would Benny say about this? But you guys are friends, so then I'm like, what would Benny say about my girlfriend? Well, no, this is fucking weird, and it doesn't work from there. But whenever I think of like that tender sweetness that's like perfectly captured in a verse, like that, I think of you.
Oh,
You know?
no, I appreciate that. And again, I think every single poet has a certain kind of poetry that they kind of like gravitate towards.
Absolutely.
And mine's definitely love poetry. Like it's, I do try and like steer clear to kind of like because I feel like it's especially on like I feel like the slam scene kind of makes you do this because the slam scene is very political,
Mega political.
and I think what stood out to me in my first like national festival was there was no other love poetry. Like
Not one.
I was like from what I saw, I was one of the only ones, and there was like 8 or 9, I think maybe even 12 teams, and from what I saw, there's hardly any love poetry. So I feel like I kind of stood out because people are trying to be political and say their piece, and I fully support that obviously, but it's. I feel like it's for me, it's a certain vulnerability that I like to show on the stage.
Yeah.
That ends. I don't know, like if I can get a little bit personal here, like it's for me, it's like it's. I never thought I would find like love the way I have. Like it's over the years, like fuck, it's I've had like plenty of girlfriends, but it's always been like this like toxic like terribleness.
Yeah.
And I never had a lot of confidence. So like once I kind of got that confidence and got the love from the partner I have now, like it totally like, kind of inspired me to like be like a better poet and to speak on that. So
Yeah.
Our own modern day bard.
Seriously though, no, I think a lot of people are like they think love poetry is corny, but like it's not. It's you know what it is? It's hard.
Sure.
It's really fucking hard. It's really easy to go up and rant for a few minutes. That's what I do. and it gets tired, but like an honest to goodness love poem that's really good and heartfelt, and you can tell you mean every fucking word you say, man. It's so good.
I was just gonna say like when someone's like total bullshitting, like you can tell. Especially like because poetry is so like this like real and because it's only you and the mic, so that's all you have, and it's you can tell when someone's not being genuine. It just comes across like just like as just like fake, and I think that's when people like aren't real. That's when like it doesn't really resonate with their audience.
Yeah, and I mean, I won't say any names. I'm not trying to air anybody out or anything, but I have definitely heard some poems on some local stages that were like, it was trying to be like, how can I explain this? It was the poetry equivalent of I have a black friend. You know what I mean? Just so cringe, and you're like, this is for like either this isn't yours to say, or you don't really live like this, or whatever it might be. You know, I didn't. It's not specifically the racial thing. I mean, it's kind of fake.
Yeah, like it's like Instagram poetry, right? You know what I mean by that? Not putting your poetry on Instagram, but like the reality versus what the Instagram reality is. Like you're presenting yourself in a fake way.
Somebody sees a sunset. Oh, I'm gonna say this about a sunset. It's like, yeah, but what do you really think about a sunset? Come on, be honest with us. Don't be like, oh, it's pretty. We're aware of that, sort of thing.
So, I again, I've seen a lot. So, again, I think a lot of people who are starting out in poetry as well. And I've done this, so I'm not innocent at all. But when you see poets on a stage, you see a lot of them trying to emulate other poets. And I think every single like type of art, people emulate someone else. Like it's really hard to have a 100% genuine piece of art, because I feel like anybody and everybody always gets inspired by everyone else.
Well, I mean, to that I say two things. One is what Nas said on the Lost Tapes mixtape, which is no idea is original. There's nothing new under the sun. And two is what Neil Gaiman says about writing, which is that everyone uses someone else's voices until you find your own. And it's kind of the road you take. You have to emulate. You have to, and then you find your niche somewhere in there.
Yeah. And again, like my style, like I think every like poet nowadays probably watches YouTube and watches like poetry on YouTube. And I've seen a bunch of poets like in person as well. And I think at first I definitely like kind of like took performance like I guess like ideas from other poets. So how I how I read a poem and how I like say my hand motions, like how I'm like interacting with the crowd. It's all on purpose. Like I don't just think about it like again like on point. Like so sometimes I do like react a certain way based on how an audience reacts to my poetry. But for the most part, everything I do is premeditated. Like because like I feel like especially on like a slam stage, you have to be. Like, it has to be like pretty like concrete.
Slam's tight.
Yeah, and you have to be like, especially on like a national stage. You can probably get away with kind of being like on a local slam stage, but yeah, being on like a national stage, it definitely is hard.
Can we? Because like I'm not gonna lie, I used to write poetry all the time, but like in like grade 7, and grade 8. But I did it like just like on my own time. I don't even know if they're structured, but I haven't been into poetry for years. So like just for people like me, what's the difference between like normal poetry and slam poetry?
Oh, okay, so not a goddamn thing.
Okay.
So
That's not what I was gonna say, but that's a great fucking answer, bro.
okay, so and Fresh, you can definitely speak on this after I say my piece.
Yeah, go ahead.
But so I mean,
Love you.
it depends on who you ask. It depends on who you ask. To be honest with you, but like if you're on a slam, quote unquote slam stage, you can say whatever the fuck you want. Like I think maybe like some topics you might want to stray away from. But in terms of like a poem, like any poem could be a slam poem if you do it on a slam stage and it's under 3 minutes and 10 seconds. Like there's no like I guess like guidelines to like this is a slam poem. Bam.
Right. So that's the answer. In terms of the spirit of the poetry, the themes or whatever.
Okay, yeah.
Structurally speaking, what Benny said about 3 minutes, 10 seconds, so slam is judged and timed, whereas open mic, which is what the toast function is not judged, at least not out loud.
Fair. That's fair.
Oh god.
And it's not timed as long as you get the fuck off within a reasonable amount of time.
Right.
We've had a few of those nights.
Well, I was gonna say not to knock anybody, but
Wow.
some of them just like to go.
Yeah. I mean, even the things that I hate about, like, there's certain styles of poetry I don't like. There's certain, dude, even somebody's voice can put you off it.
Yeah.
But even those, I try to take something away from, because whether it was just the balls to get up and say it, or whether it was the unique niche that they've carved for themselves, if they have found their own voice, even if I hate that voice, that's fucking cool.
Right. That's fair. I respect that.
Yeah. So slam is essentially competitive,
Okay.
and open mic is just open mic.
Just whatever. Just like open.
And-
but it's all kind of just like it's all kind of open.
See,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a very, very bittersweet relationship with slam.
Talk to me.
Oh,
tell
man.
me a story, Benny.
So, I mean, okay, it's putting numbers to poetry is always fucking weird. Like, and people who are judging you aren't actually like scholars in the field.
Right.
They're just random people in the audience, and that's kind of how it works. it's how you can relate to a general population. It's kind of it's basically like what the slam, like I guess like structure.
But that's a really good method, I think. It kind of feels nice to like, how can you speak to a general public?
Yeah.
Yes and no, but there's always a problem with like, who is this asshole to qualify my art at all?
True, but like, just popped in my head was when Ellen DeGeneres was go back on tour. No, but seriously, she was gonna go back on tour for doing her comedy routine. But because I'm not a big follower of her.
Are you
but
sure?
Believe it or not, I'm not.
I mean, Ellen's
but
dope,
she
but-
was saying like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go kind of back to my roots, and they're going, but you're not a normal person anymore. How can you do that? So just you're kind of saying like, you know, your poetry is for the general. How can someone like as big as that definitely kind of go back to their roots and be part of the general public when they haven't been for like a decade? It's just I
So
like
what
that.
you're saying is not knowing is better in a way.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's more natural, I guess. It's like just the way you're saying. I'm
I
like,
get it. Well, it depends. 'Cause, like, if you go on like the national level, like they actually have like predetermined like judges, and actually I actually judged in nationals last year, which was a totally amazing experience because I feel like they should have poets.
Yes.
At least a few sprinkled in amongst like the audience crowd, the audience. So it's I don't know, it's being a judge is weird, and I get that judging poetry is hard, but I just don't. Just circling back to what we were first talking about and my bittersweet relationship with slam, fuck man, I've had like I put my heart into poetry. And I remember once I got like, it was like a 4.0. And okay, so it's out of 10, right? So it's, like it's from 0.0 to 10.0. So any decimal point, like you can be judged by. And I've gotten like 4.0, 6.0. And in the slam scene, like I guess anything below an 8 generally is considered like a bad score.
Yeah.
Even though like 7 is it's like a B plus, right? Like
I take a 7.
But I take a 4. Yeah. But it's you can tell whenever a poet gets like below an 8, it's like ugh. But then again, if everyone else is getting like 9s and you get like an 8.1, then that can still be heartbreaking because you're like, okay, well, I didn't obviously resonate as much as everybody else did.
That's my fucking beef, dude. And I know you've heard this rant from me before, but we should be giving out 2s and 3s to the people who deserve 2s and 3s because he snaps.
I didn't mean to. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
Because no, it's all good, bro. Because it makes the 8s and 9s fucking meaningless.
Oh, man.
If this is a 9 compared to this piece of garbage that we gave an 8 to spare their feelings, then that 9 doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
And I that fucking
Totally agree.
But that's my feelings on art in general. Like when people say like, "Oh, you can't tell someone that their music isn't good." Like, yeah. You can.
You can.
You don't have to assault people with that information, but if you're talking about it, you can say, "Yeah, your favorite band's trash." You know?
Unless, you can assault them if they like Nickelback, though.
Oh, if they like Nickelback, open
That's all right. It's just
Open
like,
season.
Open
It
season.
always
all
comes
year
back to
round.
Nickelback, eh?
It all comes
Always
back.
comes
Dude,
back.
speaking of it all coming back
What's-
to Nickelback, my girlfriend, my girlfriend's stepdad used to be the drummer for Nickelback.
Shut the fuck
Yeah,
up.
I didn't tell you that. Yeah, like helped write their first album.
Wow.
Like that made them huge.
Wow, that's crazy.
And he's the same name as me, which is weird. But it all comes back to Nickelback,
It all comes
baby.
back.
Good old Chad.
Oh, man.
I just refresh his mind.
I'm in disbelief.
That was a
right
very
now.
delayed laugh. I can just see you about to like disperse out laughing. And
Oh God.
Yeah, so there's that.
But one other point I wanted to make was slam is fucking weird because in a world where we always like it's proclaimed to be like judgment free, we're a judgment free space. We judge so fucking hard. It's so
Right.
fucking weird. Like, because poetry shouldn't be judged. Like, it's all about like just speaking your truth and just saying what you want to say and just saying it into a mic, and hopefully the audience resonates with it, right?
Yeah.
But it's so weird how poetry just is. It's so weird to me how a space that is so it should be judgment free is so fucking judged, even
yeah.
apart from the judges. Like you see poets shit on other poets all the time.
Yeah.
And I find myself, I'm no fucking saint. Like if I'm at a slam and I see a poet, like if it's either here or nationally, and I wasn't really feeling it, and I see they get like a 10 or like a 9.0, I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But again, it did not resonate with me. So it wasn't meant for me, and that's kind of like what
That's a good way to look at it.
I want to
that's nice.
think about as well. Is that not like poets can't be relatable to every single person in the room, and I feel like it's a lot of poets. I guess the goal, especially in slam, is to make a poem that is related with everyone in the room, and that can be hard because for me, like it's like not everyone can relate to a love poem. Like if you have like a string of like bad relationships, like we all have had that, and it's you might not relate to a love poem.
Yeah.
So if I go up there and a judge, like, a better judge, like, is gonna give me like a 6 out of 6, then I'm gonna have to deal with that. But it's weird. I feel like it's a big part of the slam scene is like writing for the judges, and I don't really like that. Again, I could be totally wrong and off base here, but my own personal belief is that it's like that's the issue with like some like slam scenes is like you're not writing for yourself. You're writing for like the points or all the judges. And again, I could be totally off, but that's my own personal like observation over the years that like at least for me, like when I found myself like falling out of love with slam, I was writing for this for judges and how would this poem do well, and that's fucking bullshit, and I hate that I went that way.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, so again, I'm not innocent at all. Like I definitely have thought that and have gone that route, and that's why like it's I think like my love for slam kind of dwindled.
So I can't relate with competing I can relate with competing nationally just with music.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fuck yeah.
Right. So I've been like adjudicated by Berkeley School of Music and all that kind of shit. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like there's a bias? Because I definitely do. I feel like what you said, if you can't, if they can't resonate with your art form, they're gonna kind of judge you more poorly than maybe someone that they can resonate with.
Yeah, but I think that's kind of like it's kind of the point, right?
Yeah.
It's real. That's why like, whenever when I was judging. So here's an example. So, there was a poet who did a poem about being like vegan, right? And this was like 2 years ago, and this one I wasn't a judge, but this judge in the audience, like after the poem was over, he said, "Oh, I can't judge this because I'm not vegan." And I feel like that's weird because you should be able to judge based on like the performance.
Yes.
So circling back to when I was judging last year, I made an effort to not only judge the content of the piece, but how they performed it. Like I don't really consider like if they memorized it like a huge factor, but it does help in terms of like performance. But again, some poets can kill it just reading off their phone or off a piece of paper. They can just kill it. But I always take performance into my judging criteria, and I feel like not all people do that. Because I feel like if you can go up there and maybe the content doesn't really speak to me entirely, but you just kill it on stage and you just own it, that can bump you up like at least a few number of grades for me anyway.
Right.
I completely agree with that, dude. I think performance is not valued nearly enough.
I totally agree.
What if you're for an example for me is like I got adjudicated once in a jazz band, so I used to play in big band, right? And I'm a drummer. So like I hit the drums real hard. I like hitting the drums hard. So I'm in this jazz band playing in like I think it was Boston, and we were playing and like it was all tight, it was all good, we all practiced, but I was jamming out because I love to jam on my drums. And the first thing that dude said, he comes in, he's like, "Who's the drummer?" I'm like, "Me." It's like, "You're way too loud." And I'm like, "Oh," and that like kind of like he was right. Like I kind of didn't play with enough dynamics in the set that I should have.
Okay.
But at the same time, like, bitch, you ever heard of like Buddy Rich and Gene Krupa and like real big band drum? Just because you don't like your drums loud, you're gonna. And he literally stuck on me the entire time. Like the rhythm section just picked on us because I was too loud. He's like, "You got to hit it like this." I'm like, "Bro, you can't tell me how to hit my drums." Like, I explained to him, I'm a rock drummer first and foremost.
Yeah, man.
I went into jazz. I love jazz, but you can't I think we actually lost a lot of points because of that too.
No
'Cause of
shit.
me, yeah.
Fuck.
Being
Brutal.
too loud.
So you lost it for the band, is what I'm hearing.
No, I think you still got
Oh,
you still got adjudicated in a gold, I believe.
Okay.
But we just didn't get as high of a score,
Okay.
right? Because
Okay.
it's like sections. But anyway, it was a bias on a performance. Like I performed well. I got praise from all bandmates and everybody. But one guy who was one of the 3 judges didn't like how loud I played. Is that relatable to poetry? Like, say some guy kills it in your opinion, performance-wise, but in Benny's opinion, it wasn't his cup of tea. Like, do you guys find that?
Well, I think that's where you get a unifying picture of the whole thing. And so what Benny's talking about, like, this subject matter may or may not speak to someone's experience, but perhaps the performance can bring it up or whatever, or maybe the other way around. That it's important to take it as the whole picture, which is why I think it's important to have a higher standard, because the cream of the crop will always rise to the top if you do that. You won't have to be like, oh, well, this person talked about, the traumatic childhood experiences, and this guy wrote a love poem, so we're going to score this guy higher, and this guy's going to eat shit on it because it's corny. Fuck you.
Right.
Fuck
No.
you.
And I think what kind of ice what you were saying is that it's all subjective. Like
Right.
art, if it's poetry or it's music, it's all subjective.
Boom.
So I was at this Rudy Francisco. I freaking love his work, and he's kind of a big deal. And he came through Detroit, and I somehow got tickets to it was like a living room show where I was in I forget what her name is, but it was another Detroit poet, and she had a poetry show in her living room.
No shit.
And I got tickets to it, and it was like me and like 30 people in a living room in Detroit, and Rudy was just speaking his poetry, and it was fucking mind blowing because he's a pretty big deal in the poetry community, and he had a Q&A, and I asked a question about how I'm a slam poet, and I've said my most heartfelt poetry before, and I've gotten like 4s and 6s. I'm like, and I asked him, how do you deal with being a slam poet and getting your art judged so critically, especially when you don't really think it's justified. And he was like, you know what? There's one guy who hated Thriller, or who hated all those hit songs that are culture shattering. There's also a guy who hates those songs.
So we're back to Nickelback right now.
What's your favorite song? Like in terms of it's cultural relevance.
My favorite songs have no cultural relevance.
Okay, well just pick any song that has
Your Song by Elton John is one of my favorites.
Okay, so there's probably a guy who hates that song. And so the point is, it's all subjective. So no matter how good it is, one person is probably going to hate it. And in terms of slam, no matter how good your poem is, you can have the one judge in the audience who's not feeling it. And it's all subjective.
With slam, especially given the smaller nature of the local scenes, and I don't even just mean Windsor, I mean any local scene, because it gets kind of insular. It's the same people seeing the same people and everything. Communities develop, grudges and friendships develop, and that sort of thing. And it reminds me of something Shihan said, Shihan of Def Poetry fame, when he said, eventually there's not going to be anybody in the audience, just a bunch of monkeys jumping around on stage. And that's really how I feel, because everybody thinks, dude, I'll just say, I have seen some insane bombs at our slams. Just trash heaps. And they have and good on them to have the balls to get up and do it. But
For real.
If you, and this is really how I feel, if you don't think enough of the scene to, I don't know, maybe practice it, maybe do a second draft or something, and I realize this is mega judgmental, but that's kind of the fucking point. Don't do this. And then one person who really bugged the fuck out of me, she came out to a few slams, maybe some open mics, but definitely a few slams, and was talking way loud in the audience. And I can get it if you happened into this bar and you don't really know what's going on. You don't understand the community. Like, you might not realize you're being intrusive to the event. It's not okay. Like, have a little awareness, but that makes sense. But then she got up, and this is several different nights. She got up, read, expecting everyone else to listen to her fucking dog shit rupee kaur garbage, and then went and sat back down and continued talking loudly. And I was like, oh, bitch. And the one time Benny had to fuck, because I was on the move. I was getting up from my table. I kicked my chair back. And Benny just put a hand on my chest, like, just gently pushed me back down in my chair. He's like, I got this, man. And I'm like, thank God for your calm energy, bro, because I don't have that.
Yeah, you don't.
Oh, man, like, there's been so many times when, like, over the years where, and it definitely is the space we're in, where people come in and they don't have a lot of intention, like, in terms of, like, how they care about the space and the scene, because fuck, like, there've been so many times where people are talking super fucking loud, and it's so disrespectful. And I don't care like how good, quote unquote, how good the poem is. Be respectful. Like, don't fucking talk while the person is saying the poem. And so it kind of reminds me of, like, so I've been to, like, a plenty of, like, bars, and you know when, like the guy's playing, like, acoustic, and he's like, okay, hey guys, like, I appreciate your time, and no one, like there's no applause, like, no one cares. I feel like it kind of feels like that in a way, but also, like, that's mostly just, like, background noise.
Right.
But I feel like some people think poetry is background noise. It's kind of how I want to tie it into, and it's not, especially in that art space. It's not background noise. Like, you can't be speaking loud while a poet is saying the art. Like, I don't care how I feel about the poem. Like, be fucking respectful.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah,
Sure.
and that's kind of what I mean about raising the bar too, man. Like you have to at least have this minimum standard of, really, it's respect for the community before you can even participate.
No, I totally agree. I think I've learned over the years. Because again, like, I was a different host, like, in my, like, first couple of years.
Okay.
I probably wasn't the best host. I remember one time this poet was, like, very I guess, like on the fence of performing, and I was under the impression she wanted to. She just was scared. So I'm under. It's kind of, you know, the whole metaphor, like, you push someone in the water and hopefully they can swim. Or someone, I forget what the actual metaphor is, but it's something along those lines. So I called her out on stage, and I'm like, so like, ex-poet, are you ready? And she's like, I'm like, well, we're waiting for you, or whatever. So she went, and then she messaged me like afterwards, and she's like, I didn't really appreciate that. I'm like, well, I'm sorry. I thought you wanted to read it, so I stopped doing that. But I mean, it's a lot of poets things. It's always a weird situation, because sometimes, like, poets want to be pushed, and I've been told that, like, I've created a space where people can get over their fears.
Sure.
And I feel like just being kind of pushed in the water it's kind of harsh sometimes, but people can get over their fears if they just go up and do it. And like, for me, like, it's after I used to be scared to go on a stage. Like, my first poetry performance was fucking terrible, terrible. And I actually have it on video. It's so bad.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait.
It's so bad. It's so bad. But again, it's just, you're gonna have to just, like, make that leap. And I was kind of like the host at that point where I didn't have any issue with kind of, like, pushing people to get up on stage. And now I'm kind of, I just wait for people to come to me, and I'm not ever gonna, like, and I kind of learned very, very quickly to, like, not force it, because people can go up when they feel comfortable, and it just,
Yeah.
Well, and you don't really have that energy either, bro. Like I was saying, you have a calm energy, so you are an excellent ambassador. But you're not the person to be like, come on, let's go. You know?
But no, I think at that point, like, they had signed up on the sheet, so they were on the sheet.
Shit.
But they were just like very hesitant. And I just said, I'm like,
Swim, bitch.
A little shove, but again, like and they haven't been back. So whatever. But again, like that could be any number of reasons.
Sure.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like we've had so many like regulars like come and go.
Yeah, right.
But I guess like going back to like respecting the art is like it's this, I don't want anybody to feel like that like any like negative way towards like me or the community that I've like built over the years. I want like again we say all the time and it's kind of cliche, but it's cliche for a reason. Like a safe space. That's something like I always strive for in Toast, and yeah.
I feel like when you say safe space, it doesn't mean like in a modern politically correct way. It means a safe space to come up and just be as fucking terrible or as great as you want to be. You know, you can have practiced every day for the last year, or you can have finished it that night sitting at the table, which I have done before. You know, like it's just it's welcoming. You can literally be whatever the fuck you want. And that's what I love about it is well, I mean, maybe I'd have hated it if I was pressured like that one person, but I never witnessed that. So
yeah, and again, that was like probably like 6 years ago. It was like one of the first ever like slams, first ever events I've done, and it was a learning process
for sure.
And I think what you said like it's one time I forget who said it, but when Toast and Slam were kind of like going going through the years together, they call it like Toast almost like a farm team, and I kind of get it, because in the open mic you can like practice your craft and there's no like judges to like judge your scores. So when I was like really serious about slamming, I did use Toast as like a farm team for my own poetry. Like you would test things out, see what works, see what doesn't work, like modify poems, like try and like perform it a certain way, like how you say certain words, like how I move my arms, like even how I'm talking now is how I do poetry.
Right.
I'm like constantly moving. And you guys can't see this, but I'm moving my arms a lot as I'm speaking right now. So
yeah. So do you still feel that way about it? I mean, I know that both communities have kind of paused for a moment, but do you still think that that's how they're treated?
I mean, to honestly, no, because most of the poets that come to Toast aren't slamming.
Right.
I'm probably one of the only ones that do both, really, and I think people realize that, because there's a lot of poets who I know for a fact don't believe in slam poetry and don't believe in yes, and I don't believe in putting the like numbers and like judgments and like scoring basically to art, and again, and I totally respect that. So like a lot of the poets that were like my OGs aren't really a fan of slam. So I mean, like it's again, that could be a reason a lot of them like left the scene to begin with, is that it became too, I guess, like too stressful because it is stressful. Like I honestly, like, the most anxiety I ever get is before a slam, and it's not that I'm like nervous. I am nervous, but it's more along the lines of like I get this like indigestion, like heartburn in my stomach, and I cannot shake it, and when I'm on Toast, I don't get that. So it could honestly be like just like the judging just gives me super high anxiety that I don't want to fuck with.
Just hearing about it gives me anxiety. Exactly. I know like 3 of you guys perform, and I literally you couldn't put a gun to my head, and I still wouldn't do it.
It's like battle, like when I was in a band, like 8 years ago or some shit, and we played every battle of the bands in the fucking county,
Sure.
and I would get so nervous, like my hands are sweaty, and it's the worst.
So can you speak on like battle of the bands and like how that is judged?
Oh, okay. So it's all from my memory, if that's correct. It's different every battle that I've ever entered. I've done some like, I remember they were like Supernova Battle of the Bands, and they were like a management company that managed Sum 41 and a bunch of bands and stuff like that.
Okay.
And like, you know, when you're like 20, I think I was like 19 actually.
Okay.
And you're like, yeah, let's get in there. So we play a bunch of those, and there's like, those are the shows. There's like, I think it varied between like over 200 people and then like 5 people.
No shit.
Yeah, a couple of them would be like 5, but like one we sold like over 120 tickets. Like we packed the house.
All right.
And then I played a couple where like Long McQuaid put it on, and
Okay.
you'd get like that guy. What's his name? Never Ending White Lights dude from Windsor. Daniel Victor. Or something?
Victor, yeah.
Yeah, he was a judge, and then there was Philosopher Kings or something. The drummer was a judge, and there's like kind of people from like Leamington who have made it decently big in music, and then some other ones were just like literally, who are you? Like who I've never heard of you, and you're judging my band, right?
Sure.
But there was a and the stipulations would vary too, right? So it'd be like you need 5 songs, and they can't be longer than such a length or whatever. Your set has to be 20 minutes, and then you got to worry about putting because they're judging you on performance, right? So now you got 5 guys on stage, you got to orchestrate a performance, and you got. 4 guys in my case, and 4 awkward, really socially awkward human beings trying to perform a rock show in a rap rock band. Like it just, sometimes we would tank, and then one point I think we won 9 in a row. We won like every battle.
It
Because we
almost
just got a
sounds-
formula going, and it was just like Benny said, like you just practice, you get your performance down, and you kind of know what they're looking for, and then you can kind of almost bullshit, because like the prizes were pretty good. Like we won professional recording time, I won a lot of gear and stuff like that, right? So it's kind of like we use that guide to win the things that would get us to the next level, and then we broke up, but whatever.
Oh, it's bummer.
It's okay.
Well,
we got an 89X once. That was fun.
Well, that's pretty sick. I just to clarify, like I super envy your guys' ability to be able to do that. Like
You can, Mickey.
But okay, hold
can't.
on, bro, because you've said this now several times on the cast.
I know. I want to. I would love to.
Okay, but what would you do?
What would I do?
Yeah.
Well, I think I'm not even good at anything, so that's probably my first problem.
Okay, but what do you want to do?
See, if money weren't an issue, and if I actually had time, I'd love to be able to sing, if I could sing. I wouldn't mind trying to perform poetry. Maybe
Don't you
once or
play
twice.
guitar?
I play guitar too, but
I've asked you to jam like 80 times.
I know, but like even like as soon as you say, I go, that's a great idea, and then I think about it, I go, nope, I can't do it. I can't even do it in front of you guys. Okay, so on this one, so I write here and there, just I wouldn't even consider it peppering my life. It's just in and out sometimes, but I throw it Fresh's way because I really respect his opinion on that part of what I do. But to do it, like I'll write it and then I'll wait a week before I send it his way.
Yeah, but bro, then you put it out on the gram the other day, like that was
That was a
sick.
big step. My goodness, like honestly, I had it all set up and going.
He's like,
Okay, here we go for the world, and like it. Even just talking about it, makes me kind of sick.
But see, bro, this is like you are the perfectly crystallized example of all of the right things. Like you respect the form, you respect the community. You know, you've taken time. Not that anybody has to do any of this, but like to really get to the right spot where it feels right and people will receive it well.
Sure.
Like, you've checked all of those boxes. Now you just gotta fucking write it.
For me though, should I ever have the cojones to do it, someone's gonna have to come on stage and hold my hand, and I am not
do
fucking
that.
kidding.
I will
I'm
hold
going
your
to need
hand.
that.
I'll hold your butt.
I mean, and I'll hold your hand.
Okay.
And your wiener. Whatever, man. Whatever you need. I'm here.
I'll develop my performance voice, 'cause as soon as I get the hand, get the butt, then I got the groin going.
It's
What does he say?
beautiful. You sound like Bono.
Man, like, everyone starts somewhere though. Like
Yeah.
for me as a poet, man, like I was fucking so shit. Like, and I'm a modest guy. I think I'm decent behind the mic, but I mean, like, I started and I was shit. I was
Sure.
not good at all. Like, I subjectively, I was not a very good poet. But you grow and you learn as an artist. Like in any art, like if playing guitar, singing, like poetry, you just have to work at it.
Yeah.
And if you put enough effort, if you want it and enough, then you can make it happen.
Sure. My issue's never really necessarily been my stuff is going to be shit. Like again, that's going to be a thing. Again, it's going to be very subjective for a lot of people.
Yes.
But like when I do finally finish something and I really like it and I do pass it Fresh's way, I am pretty proud of it.
Okay.
But it's literally. It is so as much even on this show I always kind of come off as a very open and I'm all about the love and all about the sharing, but when it comes to art, and I've said it before on this show, is you are opening a different piece of yourself. Like, you know, we look at the I can't remember which culture brought it up, but it's like it's the three masks we wear.
Okay.
It gets down to that level. Like this is not who the people know you, see you as, not how your family sees you as. It's not how distant people see you as. This is raw you. And I'm really that's the part of me I'm always afraid to open up to. I don't know why?
Because in my experience in the art scenes of almost any kind of scene I've been involved in, and this is why I kind of I veer away from even like networking now or anything. Like I still make music. I paint a ton. You know, I write a little bit, and probably not as much as I should because I really enjoy that. And then I'll do like I'll write. And then I'll just like, yeah, it was awesome. It was like and then I'll close the book and like 4 months will go by and be like, remember that one time I wrote and it felt good? You know what I mean? But I used to write all the time. Photography, like I do everything, like resin.
Yeah, you touch on basically
I touch on
every art
basically
form.
any kind of art form I can. I just love working with my hands, my mind.
You act too.
Yeah, on here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I pretend like I'm a good person. Like, what do you mean I act?
Jesus Christ. I don't know. Your joke was better. Just go.
Okay, thank God. What the hell was I even talking about?
You do all these arts.
Yes.
Oh yeah, but one thing that deterred me from being more involved in like the local scene is, like I guess I'm just gonna be a prick about it. All the fucking douchebags and self-absorbed people who don't respect the art form of any kind, or just are caught up in popularity, like doing it for all the wrong reasons. Like they want to be popular, they want to be like, look at me, I'm fucking doing this, and I'm different. And I'm just like, fuck.
And
Let's talk about that a little bit.
Well, actually, and I can add to that because that's one thing I really liked how we went with this show. We almost immediately said we're not doing politics. Forget it, because everybody in their grandma's got an opinion on it. And like, and it's good, like have your opinions, but it's just who needs another show talking about politics. And one thing Benny brought up earlier when he was talking about how like a lot of the poetry today is politically charged, and it cool, but
It is.
so what? It's just like, what's your point? Yeah, our world leaders suck. What else you got? You know what I mean?
Dude, world leaders are such old news because I think, Benny, perhaps you can confirm and deny this for me, but I think that the general poetry opinion is just that all politics and all political leaders are just trash and they're just fucking garbage.
Sure.
So
That's the average poet's opinion.
I think when I think of like politics and poetry, it's not necessarily like about government and who's in power. It's more about like the societal I guess like topics like gender and then like race and like all those like hot topics that are huge right now. And what I noticed is that, especially in arts, I know we don't want to like really go down the politics like trail, but it's almost always left. And if you like left as in like left leaning,
Left of center politics, yeah.
politics, yeah. Like you won't ever see a poet at least on like the national level like say something that's like right leaning.
Right.
So that's definitely something that the art community is really like I guess is like a staple of the art community, especially like nationally and locally as well.
And I think that's wrong, bro.
Unless you're Ted Nugent.
Yeah. somehow.
So again, like we're kind of tying it back to I guess like judging, and like it's if anybody ever says any opinion, as long as it isn't like like racist or any of those terrible things.
Sure.
Like if it's any way like right like politic leaning, you are burned at stake. Like it's
Absolutely.
like done. Like you are like cancel culture. Like you are canceled.
Yes.
You're done. Like it gets, and you won't ever make it like in the like on the national level, even local level. Like people will like shun you, and I feel like it's what I like about like other podcasts that I listen to is like it's all about like a conversation, and you can have a conversation with somebody who thinks differently than you.
Yes, for sure.
And I think that's one of the issues I've found with the poetry scene is that there's no room for conversation amongst people who think differently.
Dude, that was perfectly said. Perfectly said. And I've thought about it too. Like I've written a couple poems, and all I do is perform open mic in Windsor. I don't compete. I'm not trying to get to the national level because I know that's not for me. Regular cis-het white male. I have no place there. You know. I know. It's its own form of tokenization now. I get it, but the like some of the things I've written have been like I'm going to grossly oversimplify here, but basically about sucking it up and picking yourself up. Which is a real thing, and lots of people understand the reality of that. But God forbid I say that to the wrong person who has suffered some kind of systemic oppression or a specific trauma. I'm not able to fix myself. Then what are you gonna? Then fucking die. I don't care. Yeah. I have a right to say my opinion. And the thing that, like with most of my poetry, it's me talking to myself. With almost everything I've ever written. So shut the fuck up. This isn't for you then. If I can acknowledge that somebody else's poem for some crazy experience that they've had doesn't necessarily apply to me and it doesn't speak to me and I can just walk on past it, then you can do the same for me. That's what a safe space really is.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know, man. And shit like that gets me. And then people playing the game. Like when I went to... So you've been more involved in the upper echelons and the actual real community of it,
Yes.
than I have. And when I went to, first of all, when I watched Nationals last year, and then when I went to the most I guess I watched 2 years ago, and then I went to the most recent one, and I was just like this is just. The term suffering Olympics is used, and it's not that there are no good poets, because everybody there was good. Everybody there was tight and deserved that stage, absolutely. But kind of like you were saying earlier, there's no room for a love poem here.
Like I honestly, even so, the year I was at Nationals, repping Windsor, there was hardly any love poetry. And when I went as a judge last year, there was hardly any. I feel like there isn't there is a space for that, but it's very, very small, and it's not as noticeable. I think you kind of it's for me. I guess I don't know. I think locally, I think I'm known for being a love poet, but nationally, I mean, it's. There isn't as big of a space for love poetry as there is other hot topics.
Definitely
of our time,
because it's seen as hokey or unimportant compared to like you say, hot button issue of the day. But if anything, that makes it just as important. All you need is love.
Yeah, bro. J. Cole said it.
Yeah, J. Cole said it. Paul McCartney said it.
Yo, Paul
You think
McCartney.
people would have had enough silly love
did you
songs,
know that
but they
Kanye
didn't.
made Paul McCartney famous?
wow.
Yeah, bro. Did you know that?
What?
Yeah, bro. I think that's what the thing was. No, back, I think, didn't Kanye and Paul McCartney do a song together?
Oh,
People
yeah,
legit
with,
thought that, they're
with
like,
Rihanna,
who's Paul
yeah.
McCartney?
Yeah,
like,
those two and
check
Rihanna.
out this new guy, Paul McCartney. It's like, bro, he was in the Beatles.
Yeah. All the algorithms like, who? The Wuddles?
That was actually
Anyway.
a sick song, though, too.
Yeah.
So we were speaking on emotion behind art, and I want to speak on. I think we were going towards this topic, and we kind of got off it for a second. But even the whole Instagram poetry scene, and I say in quotes because the emotion behind those because all Instagram is it all like small sentences, and if you have anything more than 2 or 3 sentences, people are just gonna scroll right by it.
No doubt.
And I'm not innocent at all. I have an Instagram poetry account, and
I just followed it.
well, thank you. It was funny. So about that, I can speak for hours on the shittiness of the Instagram poetry scene, because I think it's all bullshit. Even though I'm part of it, I'm bullshit for being a part of it. I really am, and I've tried. I've been hovering around this 500 followers for for the years, and it's just kind of funny how I'm trying to reach that, but half people that follow me are just following me because they want to follow back.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. The
That's
cesspool.
sad.
They don't actually give a shit. And I've seen people on Instagram who have they're following 8,000 people. 8,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
And they have 5,000 followers, whatever, right? So congrats on 5,000 followers, but 8,000, how are you standing out amongst the crowd when you're following when someone's following 8,000 people and you're one of them?
Do you worry about the volume? Just the sheer overwhelming volume, how to actually stand out?
Every day. And it's funny, so one thing that is a problem with Instagram, I'm sure you know about, is bots, right?
Yeah.
So I will like I have like a set of hashtags that I use every single time, right? And I comment in them. I comment on my own posts, and I put the whole like block of hashtags in it so it doesn't appear in my actual caption. And I get like likes, or instantly I'll get like a comment. And what's hilarious to me is when I get like awesome photo, and it's a poem. It's not a fucking photo.
Yeah.
And so
Thanks, Dick.
so yeah, exactly. These bots people have like established they're like, okay, well every hashtag poetry or hashtag like Insta poet,
Did that hurt your soul to say that?
a little bit, yeah, a little bit. I forget what I was saying. Fuck. So every Insta poet is like triggers like a comment from this bot.
Sure.
Right.
So and they're just trying to get up their engagement, and it's fucking bullshit. And I honestly, I kind of started like doing an experiment with my own poetry page. I was doing all black and white, trying to like stand up, but so there's so many other poets out there, and I think you tied on one other poet. I think who got her fame from Instagram, and she has like 2.4 million followers.
Oh, Rupee?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm
I could talk for days about
personally.
Rupee.
I'm not a fan of the work. But I mean, like, she has. Is it they? She.
Is she?
She has like 2.4 million followers. Her books are everywhere. So she has cracked that code, and good on her. Like I think a lot of poets like shit on that type of poetry, and honestly, I think a little part of it is jealousy. Hey, I'm jealous. Like if I can make art, if I can like make my art for a living, and have like 1 million followers, like that'd be amazing to me. But it would have to be authentic. Like I wouldn't want to just like throw out a little like soundbite poetry. Basically, that's like just kind of like like my heart hurts.
That's it.
Like love everyone. Period.
Period. Period. That's basically what, dude. That's like the Rupee and okay. So here's the thing. I hate Rupee, but I hate Rupee aesthetically. She's not for me. I get that. I get that no part of her experience is meant to talk to me, and I can walk right by it. I'll make jokes about her or whatever, but like at the end of the day, I get it. And I should say, I don't think she doesn't deserve it, because whether it be
Same.
cracking the code, like you said, or whatever the fuck ever, good for you. Good for you. Atticus. You know Atticus? Fuck Atticus. So y'all probably don't, but this dude writes epigraphs. Is that what it's called?
That sounds
Epigram?
right. That sounds
Epigraph? Anyway, it's like it's like shorter than what Benny just made up on the top of his head, like little 1 and 2 sentence poems.
Sure.
With like this fake depth, and they always pander to like a woman's impression of herself as, you know, like wild and free and whatever. And it's like you're just a dude, and he cracked that code, but he is. I hate him.
Like what I said earlier.
What do you mean?
About just a douchebag trying to get.
Yeah.
Can I talk on the IG stuff? Because honestly, this is as a
Do you
quote,
also hate hipsters?
I am the original hipster. As a quote unquote producer, I've not produced anything, but the guy who makes the beats for the podcast, that's me.
Which I love, by the way.
It is. Thank you. It is a fucking cesspool online to get like noticed as a beat maker, right? Like it doesn't matter how cool your beat is or whatever. It's all about tight beats. It's all about marketing and all this. They have workshops. It's fucking ridiculous. The shit on Instagram that I follow, it's just all the same. It's just packs from a website, and people just add loops in and then put like a fucking fader on it, and they're like, yeah, it's sick. Kendrick Lamar type beat, or like Migos trap type beat, and it's just a cesspool of zero originality. Like I've literally used samples, and I've heard on actual songs on the radio, like from Drake, from Migos, the samples I've used from that website.
Wow.
No shit.
Right, and it's just
But
like
it's
that's
a paid sample, so you can't say
no,
anything.
you can't say anything. It's royalty free, right?
Right.
Which is fine. It's totally cool. But like it's like that Lil Nas X guy who did Old Country Road.
Yeah.
He bought the beat from a dude just like me on BeatStars, and then they both made tons of money because it was just
Shit.
ridiculous. But it's just overflowing with people with no originality. They're just doing it because, well, anyone can do it if you got a little bit of money. Like, you know, you don't have to be a musician to be a musician anymore.
It's like the scene where it's like, oh, everyone else is doing it.
Yeah, and so like literally touching on that, I congratulations for keep going, because I just fucking quit. I deleted all my shit off my Instagram. I'm like, fuck this. I'm not being involved with all this succubus shit. I'm fucking out. I'm done.
Succubus.
Yeah, and like photography too. Like there's so many like Insta, there's so many Insta photographers and Insta posts. Like how do you stand out? And like my huge issue is like if you're gonna be like that big, like where do you lose yourself and your popularity, right?
Yeah.
Like where do you lose like why you got into like the art to begin with? And
As classically known as selling out.
selling out, yeah, exactly. And like I was talking to my like dad about like my Instagram account and how, and he was like, well, what is everyone else doing that you're not doing? And I'm like, well, like they know their audience, right? Like I don't really have like an audience in my Instagram account. I just say like most of mine are like love poems. Some of mine are like finding the hope in the darkness kind of like poems. But I mean like I don't really have like an actual audience. And I feel like Rupi has an audience. I feel like poets who have like really high following like purely on Instagram have a certain audience that they're speaking to.
Well, Rupi's audience this is the thing. Rupi's audience is also by far the biggest population of Instagram users, young girls. And that's important to state. It takes nothing away from it. Like I said, give her all of her credit.
Of course.
But it is the truth. And so it has made her short poems that fit in a nice picture with a minimalist drawing perfect for them to repost. Like she knows what she's doing here.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean she's insincere or anything, but it just means like for me, that's like I like long poems. I like
Same.
heavy poems. Well, I mean, some of hers are heavy, but I like shit that makes me think for a really long time, not shit that says, look how deep I am.
Yeah. And
Oh no, you go. Sorry, I was just agreeing.
yeah, I was just saying how it's as long. I have no problem with poets making it big, as long as they stay true to themselves, and they don't like stray away just to make like more money. As long as they stay true to themselves, whatever like that truth is. I keep on saying truth, but but as long as they stay true to themselves, like, I don't care. I'm happy with that because I mean I think any poet doing well is good. It is good. It shines like light to like our like my craft.
Yeah.
And I think poetry is kind of big now. Like I don't know if it's
Bigger than when we were kids.
yeah, exactly. Like I think like Rudy Francisco was on Jimmy Kimmel like
No shit.
like twice.
I didn't
How
know
old
that.
is she?
No.
Sorry,
Rudy is.
Rudy Francisco. He
Okay, the guy you saw in Detroit, right?
yes.
Okay.
So he's
Sorry.
been on like Jimmy Kimmel, I think, like twice, which is like I was like fucking like
Yeah, that's
mind
huge.
blown. That's massive.
And you know what? And I mean, maybe just to pump your tires up a little bit, Rudy is mostly a love poet,
He is.
which is so rare. I don't know if it's because he's safe, or whatever, but
Maybe because he's a guy.
But he's good.
He's so good.
He's so fucking good.
He's probably like up there, like and most of my poets that I follow pretty religiously are like the button poetry.
We should talk about Button.
And so we should actually. But button poetry, that's where I kind of found a lot of the poets that I follow now. Like, and I always say his name wrong. Is it Neil Hilborn? Like he had that OCD poem. That went like viral and it has like 20 billion views now. Not that much, but it has like I think it's like 10 over like 10 million views or something crazy. But like yeah, so like I've gained a lot of my performance just by watching like button poetry like videos. And like and he's a poet like that I think has been pretty authentic to himself.
For sure.
It's always about his struggle with his own mind and his own like health, and I respect that. Like he never hardly ever like strays away from that form of writing. Again, it's part of it could be like jealousy, but if I ever make it like big as a poet, I don't ever want to stray away from what got me to like the dance is my love poetry.
Yeah.
And again, like it's kind of ties back to like I saw this quote years back. It was like, write what you want to say, not what people want to hear. And I really like take that. I got it like years. I think it was like 8 or 9 years ago. I read that. I'm like, that's fucking like so true. Like it kind of ties to slam. It's like write what you want to write, not what you think other people want to hear.
Sure.
But that's why I think you're bigger than slam, dude. That's why I think people who have found that voice, and let's make no bones about it, part of it comes with age. You know, if we were younger, we might be more pandering in that regard.
Sure.
But those people, those national level poets, they mostly don't slam, or at least they're past it now that they're at a national
They're past
level.
slam. Yeah, like
I have a question.
Sure.
What is? I guess 2 questions. What is button poetry? First of all, I know.
Yeah,
I
I was
just
gonna-
now. I just need
We're
to
gonna
know.
save that. We're gonna save
we're gonna
that,
save
but
that. Okay.
yeah.
And is there a specific name for poetry over music? No. It's just whatever.
I think it adds to the emotion. Like I follow a poet by the name of Andrew Gibson, and they are like amazing, and like they actually were like one of the first poets that I found, and it wasn't through button poetry. It was just I don't know if it was like through like MySpace or maybe I don't know. I guess
Doug, how old are you?
But it's maybe it was MySpace, but it was before I found like the slam. Before I knew what slam poetry was, I found Andrew Gibson, and they are like an amazing like poet.
Right.
So and again, so I guess like tying back to like the internet, like it definitely is a good way to like find poetry. But I forget what I was fucking getting at. But
I asked about music underneath.
oh,
the
music.
poet,
So
like-
what I was gonna say was thank you. So they have music behind like behind their poetry. So even when I see them live, once in a while they have like someone playing guitar or all playing like the keyboards behind it, and it really adds to the emotion. Like I remember I was like they said a poem about some shooting happening in the States, and like everyone in the room was like bawling their eyes out. And I think adding like soft like music, like we all know the effect of music. Like I've listened to songs and I freaking cried my eyes out.
Absolutely.
But
of
like a
course.
heartfelt poem with like some like deep
Some dark minor chords.
oh my god, it tears me apart.
Oh yeah, buddy.
Tears me apart.
Shit works.
I back in the day, I listened to a guy. I probably told you about this guy probably a million times. Soul Williams. You guys ever
Saul.
hear Saul?
Saul. Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
Call him
yeah.
Soul because he got soul.
He does.
And also,
He does.
And also because I can't read.
Well, he's an OGB. He was on
Saul Williams. Yeah.
He was on Kanye. It was a Kanye song, and Jay-Z was also on it.
Yeah, he's on a
Yeah,
lot of.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, my favorite one he does is on the release with Zach De La Rocha and Black Alicious and the Gift of Gab, all that, and he's got a huge fucking like 3-minute just he ran just poetry and just over this like really funky like drum beat that's really low, but he just goes off and it's just fucking crazy. Anyway, so I just was curious if because it like the first time I heard that song is like a rapper. And then it's like 4 minutes of just poetry over this like cascading, all these sound effects, and then it goes back to rap. So I'm like, I don't know what that's called, but I've always
I
loved
don't know.
that.
It's it's weird. Like it's
I thought that was slam poetry. Honestly, for the longest time, I thought slam was like poetry over music. That's what I
so
thought.
people do sing their poetry as well. So that's like another like kind of form of like mixing the two like art forms, like is like singing and poetry. I think that's really beautiful. But it's funny. Like I used to do this poem, and it was honestly it was shit. But my friend he played keyboards underneath it, and he lost like the recording of it, and I'm pissed. I'm pissed.
Oh, yeah.
But he so he did like keyboards behind it, and he's played it back for him like. This fucking kills. It's
dope.
Like it's weird how like putting music behind something like elevates it, and it may be something like this like mentally. I don't know what happens, but it definitely elevates like a poem. In my perspective.
Let's make an album, boys.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's do it.
Actually, that's a sick. I put
That's
that
a
one in the
sweet
fucking
idea.
bank.
Yeah.
No, it definitely makes it more intense, and it's why music is like not everyone. People I don't trust don't listen to music, but most people listen to music in one way or another, right? and it's so accessible, and 1/100th of those people are at all interested in poetry. Probably less than that, honestly.
Yeah, probably.
It just makes it a more complete experience, I think. And there's nothing wrong with that, you know? For me, I don't really love music under poetry most times because, like, two I know I keep talking about deaf poetry, but two poets I love from the deaf poetry days, Raphael Casal and Black Ice, both made like poetry albums with beats behind them, essentially.
Right.
And they were just so weird and stilted, and it's like, I know you have rhythm because I've watched you, but like this doesn't sound right. And then they both made rap albums, and I was like, there it is. Like, just
That's
rap.
what you're trying to
You're
do.
gonna rap, just rap, you know?
Yeah, I'm more talking like not even like a beat, but just like almost like a score.
Ooh,
Underneath, you know what I mean? Like a nice score, more
right,
like sound effects, accents, really low stuff. To accent, I guess, the dynamics of your poem.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure,
Anyway,
man.
I was just curious of all that. There's a lot.
No, dude, there is a lot. But I just like, I think the thing that I love the most about a cappella poetry is that if you have that rhythm, and it's one of my favorite things to try and do myself, is like your brain kind of fills the gaps in.
Oh, yeah.
Like your brain finds the rhythm in the other person's poem, and I think that's so fucking cool.
That is cool. I like that. I have that rhythm.
Yeah.
Like when I listen to when I listen to poetry and they have their own rhythm, like
Yeah.
I find that instant. I hit the pocket. But I mean that's because I'm just.
So you were asking about forms earlier, so like, and we've talked about this a little before. Like, I mean, poetry is an ancient art form.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
some of the stuff, like
That's why I don't write. I feel like I'm disgracing it.
it's okay.
man.
So have most poets over the years. But like you've got forms like epics, like the Odyssey and the Iliad. Those are actually poems. Most people don't know that.
The fuck?
Like, you know, Odysseus and
Yeah.
the Trojan War and
Yeah,
all that
yeah,
shit.
yeah.
Those are actually written as poems.
Oh, okay.
Because breaking them down into verses made it easier to recite because they weren't written down for the longest time. They were just recited, which is crazy, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Epic of Gilgamesh is one of the oldest stories known to humanity. Poem.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And then the forms change. Like now, I like to play around with trying to write very good short poems, even though I don't really like reading short poems because I think it's really, really hard to do.
Yes.
To make a
correct.
good point, to make it clean and concise, maybe even still stick some rhythm in and do it in a short way. Like Mickey just banged out one of the best haikus I ever read in my life and never wrote a poem. Like, fuck you, first of all.
Yeah, for real though. Fuck Mickey.
That was wild. I was
know.
like,
It
what
was
the
really
fuck, dude? Just amazing. Anyway,
It's within me.
but I think like Tim Ferriss makes a point about it's better to have lines so that you can color outside of them.
Oh shit.
Okay.
And I like that. So
Okay.
I like to actually use forms because there are hundreds, if not thousands, of different ways to write a poem. Like Shakespeare's famously known for a sonnet. Well, a lot of people don't even know what a sonnet is. It's a specific form of a poem, and that dictates the meter of it. So like, you know about meter, obviously, and the rhythm. And then they're conventionally love poems as well.
Right.
So, I mean, and there's so many kinds, right? You've got Old English poetry. Like, this is the thing. I have this relationship to poetry that a lot of modern poets don't have, where, yes, I love deaf poetry and I love rap music, and those things have played hand in hand all my life. But this started, I read Old English poetry as a kid. Because I didn't have friends. I just read books, right?
Fair enough.
So
Yeah.
this was my thing forever. And I guess yeah, I get kind of bitter like an old dude, but I felt this way even when I was 12, you know. People not really respecting the art form, and I don't know. But the whole thing is like there's no one style.
Right. Right.
And the only right voice is your voice.
So it's literally like any other form of art.
Most people,
Right.
I think you'd agree with this, Benny. Most people write free verse,
Yeah. No, for sure.
by and large.
Yeah.
Is that literally just whatever you want to write?
Basically.
So, I'm sorry because I'm really having a hard time finding a point to bring this up. But I've been literally sitting on this since the inception of the idea for this episode, particularly because we're doing mostly poetry.
Sure.
I would love to know. We'll start with Benny. When do you feel like you were first going, oh, I like this. I'd like to be more involved in this on some medium? Like, do you finally there's a point in your life that was like, yep, I'm hooked?
Well, honestly, I think it was when I went to like Toronto, and I was at the first my first couple of slams. I was like, holy fucking shit! And I remember I wrote a poem, which I actually said, at the last toast.
Oh shit!
Like my very first poem was that I said at toast was my very first like poem I ever like wrote for a stage,
Right?
And it was garbage. I mean, but that was the point, right? I wanted to show like a journey from like where I started to where I ended, the evolution of my work, and so I remember it was funny. So my first time I went to a slam, I fell in love with it.
Sure.
Like some of these poets, I forget what their names were, but they were just like so like charismatic, and they just like commanded like the attention of the room, and they just owned the stage.
Fuck yeah!
And I've always wanted to be like that type of person.
Sure.
And I think there is a little bit of ego behind it. You like when everybody has all the attention on you. It's there is a certain like I guess like power behind that where like hopefully if the room is respectful, everyone has their attention on you, and you own that room for like 3-4 minutes, whatever.
Sure.
And I think that's what kind of drew me to it.
Unless that bitch is talking, then you fucking
exactly. But yeah. So and remember when I first said a poem. This is funny. So I was in Toronto and I saw an ad online. It was at OCAD, which is like the Ontario. It's like Ontario College for Art and Design. I think is what it is, and it was for. It was for the Onyx Brotherhood like poetry like event. So I didn't realize that when I went there that I was gonna be like a minority in that space. So I was the only person like not of color in the whole room, and which was actually like, really great because I got to hear like these like voices that I never really heard before.
Sure.
And it was awesome. But when I did my poem, like it was I still remember to this day. So I was saying it, and then like this like woman in the back, she's like and she just kind of like a big and that was like the first time someone ever like reacted like positively to like a word I said, and I was like, like, this shit's kind of addicting.
Yeah,
Because honestly, because when you get that first taste of like a snap or like someone like grunting or just like reacting in any form, it definitely is. Like, it's pretty addicting. And again, I think that's why there is a little bit of ego behind anyone who's on stage, especially on like a slam setting, because you thrive on that like positive reinforcement.
Sure. Yeah.
Which I think is why like when it's negative, that's why it hurts so much because you're like. Fuck, right?
Well,
but
it's your ego,
But
right?
you gotta accept that.
Exactly.
If you want the one, you need the other.
So I guess like just the point I'm making was like I love like just like being on stage, sure. and I wanting to experience it, like seeing how these poets were commanding the stage and wanting to also have that feeling. That's me anyway.
Word.
It's like, what were you? Like, I know yours is more music based, but like, so even
same,
like,
same question.
Yeah, like, so when were you just kind of going, I want to be a part of this medium?
Oh, fuck, that was a long time ago. My first presentation or my first performance was, I think I was in grade like 7.
Sure.
Well, I guess rock band, grade 8 is when I got it.
Sure.
Because we dressed up in suits.
No
okay,
shit.
Get this shit. Our first show, okay, it was either a dance at my grade school or it was a talent show. So we either played, no, it was a talent show. That's what it was. It was a fucking talent show. We dressed up as the Beatles and we played Twist and Shout.
That's awesome.
It's all on video, bro.
No shit.
And it was like we had, the whole school, so there's like 500 kids. No, there's not. No, there was not. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
all right.
I take that back. It was not in front of the school. It was in front of like the students and the parents. After.
Sure.
But there's still like 300 people, right? Because there's a lot of people in.
Hey, if it's 3 people, but it feels like 300,
no. It's
man,
and like Benny said,
right.
it's kind of an ego thing.
Yeah.
For sure, I agree with that because you're like, people thought we were good, or at least they're being
Sure.
real nice about it. And then it evolved, and like I started writing my own songs, and people like those, and we started winning stuff. And then I got in another band, and we started writing originals, and we just kept going, and it was like a roll. And then eventually, I didn't even really want to be part of it, actually. I'm not going to lie to you. I have insane social anxiety. I hate being in front of people. I hate talking in front of people. I hate group settings. I hate crowds. I hate all that shit. I fucking hate it. And I never wanted to perform. I never wanted to be the center of attention or part of the center of attention of, I never wanted to hold stage. And it just kind of happened. And I'm like, oh God, this is good. And it snowballed into probably a bad thing because then I was partying and playing every week. And that's what it got me to. But it was definitely like the appreciation of people, like appreciating my art. That got me hooked.
Can you recall a point where maybe there was a song or maybe you saw a performance where you're going, I could try that?
I got my first drum set when I was 8.
Okay.
And I watched John Bonham play. My dad had an old like Zeppelin video or whatever. And,
Sure.
And I grew up on Zeppelin, and it was John fucking Bonham just smashing drums, and that's what I used to use in the private of my own home as my outlet, my anger. If I was angry, I was always chill because I always played the drums. So I'd smash the drums for 2 hours and just like fucking get rid of that shit. And that's what got me into music. Then it kind of just escalated into, I literally became kind of the person I hated. Like you were saying, I'm guilty of it too. You know, I'm kind of that douchebag now that's just playing bars around, you know, for 5 people. No one gives a fuck. I'm not focusing on my music career. I'm focusing on thinking I'm a rock star.
Okay.
And then I cut the cord, man. I cut 7 years I was out of music.
See, and the thing is, I think we need to really look at what the ego actually is. Like the ego, like we look at it and go like, oh, you're egotistical. But what it actually is in the person is a very important push to be who you are, because your ego and the superego and the id, right?
Yeah.
So you don't want to discount your ego too much because that's a very driving force.
No, and that's, I mean... it's a driving force. What?
Let's go, Mickey. I like that.
Look at this guy getting in touch with
I have
your
my
inner.
moments.
I guess that could touch on the what's on the board there, the mental health thing. Because the ego is important to a degree.
Oh.
If you let it take over, then you just become a fucking douchebag.
Sure. Well, because
you know that.
Yeah.
But you do want to like make yourself feel good, feel valuable, and especially in a community. Like a poetry community, a music community, a photography community, anything like that. And that's why I fucking hate everything, because it's just oversaturated. Dude, I went to Tobamori in like the fall, and I got all my gear on from the program I was in. Right,
Yeah.
I was with my girl. She wasn't my girl at the time, but we were partners. We got all our like gear on, and we're just taking shots of all these like rock formations and stuff, and just like nerding out, heaven. And there's this one girl, bro, she's just got a shawl, like a blanket. It's fucking cold, man. Like, that's all she's got on, like, shorts, and she's standing on the rocks. And I shit you not, dudes, there was 5 other dudes, younger than me, with, like, DSLRs taking her picture for the Instagram. And this guy, I hear, he's next to me, and I'm like, I'm not fucking moving. I'm not fucking moving for these people. Like, I'm taking a picture of that rock. I want that rock. I'm not fucking moving. Yeah. And I hear him go, oh, man, maybe we should ask someone to take a picture of all us 4. And he looks at me and goes, excuse me. And I just look at him, and he goes, oh, never mind. And he just walks away. And it was fucking hilarious, because I'm like, bro, I don't want to be involved in that.
Sure.
Like, I don't want to take a picture just for this bitch's Instagram.
Yeah.
Like, because she wants people to see her.
See her in a
sick
blanket.
addiction, man.
Bunch of monkeys on stage, man. That's what it is.
That's what it is. That Instagram is now the stage.
Yes.
Where it's I don't know, man. Love hate with the arts, in my opinion.
So
that's real.
how about you, Fresh?
For me, it's completely different. I mean, what you were just saying, like, especially touching on what Benny was saying there, like, where you kind of discover yourself in that ego, that hit me. But the real answer is I write, and I've always written. It's been a part of me as long as I has been that need to create and to express myself, and those two things cannot be dissevered. And it never had to see the light of day. For me, it never did. But I went to, I mentioned this to you before, dude, but I was at the first toast. The very first toast. Yeah.
Crazy.
And my life wasn't great at that time. And then I was at the second toast. I know, crazy, right? And then I was at the second toast, and my life was horrible at that time.
Fuck, man. Okay.
But I hadn't, for a few years prior to that, I hadn't written much of anything.
Okay.
I write fiction as well. I just fucking love to write, man. And it kind of helped me, just kind of helped me remember who I was. You know, how that had always felt right for me. Not so much like performing, and not even specifically poetry, but like, motherfucker, this is what you do. And I was like, fuck. And I hadn't done it. And it made it so that when I got to that stage where all the trappings of my life had fallen away, I had nothing, where all my life I at least had that one thing. And I was like, fuck, I need that thing back.
Yeah.
And so I did. So thank you.
Oh man, no problem.
No, seriously, dude. I've always had like a very emotional attachment to toast.
Man, I fucking appreciate that, and I've heard like similar stories, and I definitely appreciate like those words, man. That means a lot to me, and because that's all I really wanted at the end of the day was to like, have like a space for poets to, and even a reason, like, an excuse for people to write.
Yeah, and you know, if someone wants to write a bunch of, you know, like, you're familiar with the term shit post?
Sure. Yes.
Where it's essentially like just trolling or whatever. Like, if someone wants to write a shit post of a poem and go up and perform it as a joke, then fucking do it. Fucking do it. Whatever. You know, let's have some fun. It can be fun. I'm not good at fun. It's not my forte.
Yeah.
But writing is my thing. And so going up there for me, it was more of like when I say like, oh shit, I got toast in 2 weeks. It was more than performing. It was more like a promise to myself, like, you're gonna finish this. And again, it's about having those lines to color outside of.
For sure.
So I can put myself down to the wire, which has always been how I was better, and then be like, okay, I got to buckle down on this. And then the performing piece took on a different aspect for me after I did it. Because I had performed in like rage cover bands and shit.
Yeah.
Like I was a little Zach De La Rocha back in the day, but that is my shit. I really love that. But you know, then I think in the same way that music enhances it, it also slightly subtracts from the words of it. In the same way that, like we mentioned before, you can have someone jamming the fuck out to Bulls on Parade in their Confederate flag pickup truck, and it's like, I don't think you get it.
Yeah, you just like it because it's heavy.
But with poetry, all there is the words, and
sure.
you know, sure, things could be interpreted one way or another, but as I said at last host, I like to speak clearly. So if I use a metaphor, it's to enhance. It's not to fog something up. It's not to make it ambiguous or possibly applicable to everyone. I just, that's not how I work, because I think there's too much confusion in the world already. But it was after I performed the first time and someone came up to me and said like, yo man, that really hit me. I was like,
Damn.
that was it. That was what I needed.
Yeah.
Because I have been in so many crowds and felt that feeling where it's like, it really hit me, you know? I always say the only time I feel 100% comfortable and at home is in the crowd at a concert. That doesn't make any sense. I hate crowds. I don't really like rooms full of people. I don't like bars or clubs or anything like this. Why is that the case? Because of the unity of the focus and emotion. You know, it's very, very powerful. It's kind of like the madness of crowds a little bit, but also that emotion. So for me, as soon as I don't even know who the fuck it was. I don't remember the person. I don't know their face, but I know it happened because I was like, "This is important." And then from then on, it was just easy for me. And it was never about. I'm not trying to make myself sound altruistic. It's very fun to perform. It's fun to perform. It's fun to get a reaction from the crowd. It's even better when you hear everybody laugh or everybody snap or everybody woo or whatever the fuck ever. That's great. But for me, it was always about finding that one person in the room who needed that.
I gotta jump in real quick. I know I'm sensing a lot of stuff going, but you said it's important. What? I really want to touch on that. That kind of rang a bell. It's important.
Whatever that person got from it, whether it just be the simple fact that they're not alone.
Relating. Knowing that you're not going through maybe something.
That's very nice.
Because for me, the arts have always been a channel, and it's why I feel so strongly about the form. But I think the form follows function. I think it's very important to be very good at your art, but because I think the message is more important.
See, and I want to point out, as soon as I asked what, these two guys both were like, you guys all have the same idea. I love that.
Because I think you get it. Like, you know,
It's
why.
beautiful. It's amazing. I
Yeah,
love
I mean
to see that.
that's why I've taken my like I used to know a ton of people in the art scene, and then I just like, well, fuck that, and just funneled them all. Now I'd like hang out with, a couple guys and collab with a couple people that it really resonates. Like we really bounce off one another, and yeah, it's all about relating to someone.
But
Totally.
if I was locked in a room with a notebook for the rest of my life, that'd be fine. I'd still find something to write about. Writing just is me.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's my rant.
That's good. No, I just like to hear people's where they get their influences from.
So speaking of all of our artistic influences, Mickey, you solicited questions, right?
I sure did.
I'm starting to really like this audience interaction. Like, it's getting cool. It's not just one person being like, yes,
yes, thumbs up.
No, we're getting good answers, and Mickey's not just asking like, are you a person? Like, it's good questions too.
Yeah.
And this one was, I think, I really wanted to really branch out and kind of get more people involved. So I actually spoke to all these people and said, hey, do you mind if I use a piece of your art for a question and a pose? And they're all like,
right.
They absolutely go right ahead.
Yeah.
I could do name drops, but I think that won't turn a little while. But yeah, definitely check them out. All the people who I posted on that, their art, they're all fantastic. But the first question I asked is, how do the arts affect your day-to-day life? And wherever that can go, like the first part I always kind of go to is to marketing, so I was kind of interested to see where everybody else came from. We got one guy saying, on stage every night, 1084.
oh my, okay.
Okay.
So that guy's answers are all gonna be jokes.
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
That's
you-
an old coworker of ours who works at a strip club now.
Oh, lovely. Okay.
He's a gem.
One of my
But still read them.
Sure. One of my coworkers said, "Skittles taste the rainbow." Marketing, that's a huge part of it, right? Yeah. Lemon Soul. They added art is everywhere and in everything, in clothing, books, advertising, movies, music, etc.
That's a very lemon soul answer.
Very. Sorry, I'm just trying to get this so I can actually read the damn shit. I don't know how to work phones very well. God fucking. Oh, here we go.
The Pope is not supposed to use that name in vain.
Project Cherry. I'm a photographer and find myself seeing pictures wherever I go, which is a really interesting concept.
That is interesting.
That's
Shucks, like you don't know.
I don't. I'm a failure. That's my
Where
dad.
when I asked you guys already, when were you first drawn to the arts? We got.
Read those ones last.
Okay,
Read those ones last.
we got my coworker saying a high school play, Lemon Soul. Since I was young, I was always begging to do crafts. Project Cherry again in high school. So it seems like really when the brains are really developing, that's where people start kind of almost kind of going into unfamiliar waters. With
Right,
poetry.
challenging themselves.
And then your guys' good friend, drawn to the arts when I was drawing arts. What form of the arts speaks to you the most? We have another one of my coworkers, Arsh D. Music. Skip him. Any play, music, movies, photography, and music. And then my other boss, Kaylee, abstract. Went right just full, almost I'm not sure she meant fully avant-garde, but just abstract. I'm like, okay, why the hell not?
So abstract visual arts or just anything abstract?
I guess anything. Just abstract.
Perfect.
And
Yoko
then
Ono farting into a hat type music?
I got all the albums
fart hat.
on vinyl. It's a fart hat. It's the old John Lennon.
I got the
Yoko
deluxe
Ono.
edition of fart hat.
Oh no.
And then I guess anything involving someone talking to me was your guys' friend.
Oh, how it speaks to them.
How it speaks to
Oh,
him. Anyway,
right,
who's actually
okay.
talking about it.
I didn't get a laugh out of me that one.
No. It almost seems like he was trying to be sincere, but it didn't
No,
quite
it's
work.
there's no
he is.
sincerity.
There he's.
What art form would you like to try? I'm going to start with your friend because it's pretty funny. Contortionism.
Well, I'm thinking about that guy doing contortionism. It's like, oh man, you gonna fit in that box?
Yep. Someone who's answered before, blind piano, 99. Drawing of sculpting. I'm thinking I'm going to be drawing or sculpting. Lemon Soul, I keep trying to learn to paint. Not any good, but trying. Keep it up,
Do it.
You gotta start somewhere.
Express yourself.
Sherry, I'm always trying to draw or paint, but I'm not very good at it. Again, same to you. You gotta
Never
start
mind.
somewhere,
It
man.
doesn't matter.
Look at the wall. I'm not very good. It's just there.
There it is.
Fun though.
And Kaylee, she wants to try sculpting. It seems like a lot of people really want to work with their hands
Visuals.
and visuals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's most relatable.
Do you think art should be censored? We didn't really talk about it today, but again, like, still a really good one because you can look at it in so many different ways. But here we go. Fucker.
I know who that is.
So my coworker Jenna, no, it's free expression. Blind piano, nah, art doesn't hurt anyone, and art is expression that shouldn't be restricted. Lemon Soul, not unless it's actively harming someone / a group of people.
That's a good answer.
That's a
Sherry
great
said
answer, sir.
no, and Kaylee said no, it's a way of expressing oneself. And then our good friend 1084, yes. just a resounding yes.
Winding.
And that's just kind of like just quick off, like
Can we send that one around the room? I'd like to hear
Yeah,
everybody's
absolutely.
thoughts on it.
Benny.
What? Sorry.
Well, so should art? Do you think art should be censored?
I think it's kind of a touchy topic because for me, I mean, I've seen so many different voices on like the whole stages and different points of view. I think in the questions, Lemon Soul Sierra spoke on if it's harmful. Definitely if it's harmful, stay off of like the stages that I organize. I don't want to hear any of that shit.
Sure.
But in terms of like it's just like for me like. Most of mine is love poetry, but I do tend even swear a lot in my poetry. So I guess it depends on what space I occupy. Like if there's kids in the audience, I'll censor myself a little bit and not use those words.
Sure.
Swear words, but I mean, I guess it's a tough topic because I feel like it's at its roots, art shouldn't be censored. I feel like people just say the piece and. We should be open to all conversations. But again, it depends if it's harmful. If it's harmful, then I don't want to hear it.
Sure. So. See, I've always kind of, just on that particularly, I've always felt that, you know what, give those fuckers a stage. Now we know who they are and we can actively avoid them. That's kind of a bit harder, and I get that because the last thing you want to do is give them a platform to speak their possibly toxic, negative, hurtful opinions. But if you know who these people are and you actually even put a face on them, because a lot of these people, they like to stay anonymous. They don't want you to see who they are because they know at the core that what they're saying is fucking bullshit, and they know it's hurtful
That
and
is a
harmful
point.
to
yeah.
groups.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
like even like when people go like, oh, like it's not happening too often, but unfortunately a little more so lately, when there was the neo-Nazis want to have a demonstration, fucking let them. I want to see these fuckers' faces. I want to know who they are and how best I can avoid them. Again, it's not nice. What they're saying is, the thing is though, we all know what they're saying is fucking bad. Oh, let's have a Nazi rally. I don't think they're coming out for a good message. But let them show their fucking disgusting faces.
I mean, yeah, that's one way to look at it for sure.
Sorry, kind of got a little
That's
heated there.
That's okay. It's okay. Am I answering next?
Yeah, now you go ahead.
It is a weird topic. Okay. I don't think you should be really censored from saying anything that you want to express, unless it hurts people. I do agree with that. But I also feel like the fucking hypocrites should be censored and just shut the fuck up. Like,
Sure. Okay.
like
luck with
I
that
get, yeah, like
We got a show.
I'll give it. I'm a huge Mac Miller fan because of the evolution of his music and his art. And when he died, you know, we got guys like Migos being like, "Oh yeah, kids, stay off those drugs." I'm like, Migos, your entire career is built off of trapping and with drugs. Like,
Sure.
you're a fucking hypocrite.
Yeah.
You're making millions off of influencing children to be cool quotes there, and look a certain way, act a certain way, talk a certain way, and do drugs. And I'm not just gonna like single out Migo. There's tons of artists that do that. It's ridiculous. And then backtrack and be like, yeah, stay off that stuff. It's a shame that killed too many young rappers going down. Blah blah blah. And it's just like a toxic loop. And I just like. I don't maybe not censored, but exposed more. Like stop like hip hop DX, all these like news platforms, art news platforms and shit. Like they'll put that piece out, but they won't touch on what's in their music, and how they're literally just bullshitting their audience. And I think that's a very toxic thing that should be looked at more, even in like visual art. Like someone who just puts a dot on a paper and now it's worth so much. Like you know what I mean? The value of art, I think.
Dude, I struggle with visual art because
so do I.
I don't really get it.
That's why I like Banksy. Banksy's a great for all artists.
Yeah,
like he's a dope. He doesn't care about price or like he doesn't put a price on art.
Sure,
he'll shred his art. He doesn't care, even though his art goes for millions of dollars. He doesn't want that. He never wanted that. So yeah, it's a gray area, man. Censorship, maybe not so much unless you're like super hateful. You shouldn't be really censoring what you say. But also if you're causing a toxic environment for more than like a million of people, like by your music, by your art, by anything, then maybe you should be looked at, because that's very prevalent in music, and that's where most of I go to, right? So
absolutely.
See, I don't know, bro, because I see what you're saying, and honestly, I pretty much agree with you, but like that turns into fucking Tipper Gore censoring NWA. You know what I mean? Like that's where that road goes, and of course none of us agree with that.
Exactly, and maybe I'm not saying censor the art, but don't put that interview out where they say don't do the drug. You know what I mean? Like you can't.
I think there's.
It's a and NWA is way different than like Migos.
You're not wrong. You're
like
not
that's
wrong.
a different time. That's a totally different thing.
Yeah,
but yeah, you're right. It's weird. Sorry, I had to just say that there are different rap groups.
Mickey has no idea what we're talking about.
Mickey's like, "Where's my peanut butter toast?" And Johnny Cash, like,
don't touch my peanut butter toast.
Actually, with everybody's allergies, bro, your peanut butter toast might get censored.
You know what? When I was a kid, that's when the no peanuts rules started happening in grade schools, and I actually I'd sit in the hallway and eat my lunch.
Dude, do you know that
that's a fucking
they actually like ran studies on this shit, and like people who have never been subjected to these fucking draconian rules about peanut butter, their immunities are the same and allergy levels are the same as they were historically. But in the average classroom where this paranoia has taken hold, the allergy levels are way higher.
Yeah, because you're supposed to feed your child high allergen foods when they're young to develop the tolerance, and then people don't because I went through that whole thing. I gave my daughter peanut butter like right away. I was like, I love this shit. You're gonna love this shit.
Peanut butter baths.
Anyway,
love it.
Continue, Fresh. I didn't mean to.
No. Anyway, well, I was just gonna say, as far as like censorship, it's just I don't know, because it like we all revolt at the word. Like censorship, that's bad, right? Because we're all about free speech and everyone's individual voice and everything, and Rage Against the Machine, no doubt. And I mean, I don't really find a lot of problem in Rage Against the Machine, but I find a lot of problem in other people. And then I start thinking, well, hold on, do you stand for free speech, or do you stand for free speech when it's something you agree with?
Exactly.
But then you get something like hate speech, and hate speech is objectively bad, but at the same time, there's also just a reasonable, unemotional quarter of my brain that absolutely knows for a fact that hate speech and hateful physical violence aren't the same thing. And if we can't draw that line, we're in trouble.
I think a big issue with particularly that in today is the huge polarization that we are experiencing. Not just politically. That's maybe the stemming of it, or what we're seeing most prevalent today. But holy fuck, you don't agree with me? You're my fucking enemy. Like,
yeah, that
people are so polarized today. Like, it sucks because you guys know me. Like, I just like fuck everybody. Just hug it out. Just get along. But seriously, just get along.
Just
it's like,
be happy with it.
If you don't have the same opinions on things, it's not a bad thing. It doesn't make me your enemy.
Right?
It's like so. Like I am personally, like, we'll talk politically. It's like a liberal at heart, from what I've always understood liberalism to be. But I don't particularly like using these terms, but I don't identify with the liberal of today because they don't represent me as a liberal. So I don't identify with them. But there are some conservative points of view that I'm going, well, that makes sense. That works for me as a liberal, for crying out loud. I'm just going like, wait, so now it's like, oh, so you're conservative, you're a piece of shit, you're a racist, you're a white privilege, blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh, if you're a liberal, you're crazy or whatever.
Yeah, and that shouldn't be a death sentence to say, and that's my only point. So I guess as far as like censorship, I don't have a yes or no answer, but I lean towards let people talk.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next, do you feel the arts help represent the issues of today? And are there any examples? And actually, I don't think I've fucking got any examples now that I'm just thinking about it out loud. So I got yes, through truth. I do. It helps bring issues to ears and eyes that may not otherwise know / seek out. And I think they can. And then our good friend just said no. Have you used the arts to help with mental health? This one, again, really good. I have resounding yes. Yes. Creative always helps me with my mental health. No, but I can totally see how someone's art form can be meditative. Also, there's art therapy. And finally, should there be more usage of the arts when treating mental health? Pretty much, yes, all the way around.
Blanket, right. Yes.
Yeah,
because it's something that's not acknowledged is how the arts are personal expression. Like people see arts as like, oh, this is a vessel for making a profit. This is, whatever. But like we got to remember what it actually is at its heart, which is expression. And you express yourself, you figure yourself out, you sort things out. It's got to be done.
And this is why it was kind of like a low stats episode for me, because it's just a resounding all the way around, whether it be physical, mental, the arts help.
Yeah, maybe we should touch on that one more on another episode.
Sure.
Yeah, maybe
part 2, because that's a huge thing. I know.
But we also forgot to talk about button.
And I'm still confused.
Okay. Benny, you want to explain what button is?
All button is it's a place. I forget where it's based out of. I think it's Twin Cities. It just basically it's a place where it's a place on YouTube. It's a channel on YouTube that promotes poetry, and it has videos of poetry slams and poets doing the poetry.
Okay.
One of the most popular ones ever is that Neil Heilborn, I think is how you say his name, poem. It's called OCD, and it has millions and millions of views. Mm-hmm. And I think that's one of the moments when the online poetry community just exploded. Because people were exposed, it was shared everywhere. Online, and even on Facebook. I think on Facebook it was shared millions and millions of times.
Wow. So
it's a place where you see a lot of different kinds of poetry, but a lot of it is, it's again kind of
shit.
I mean, I'm trying to be very politically correct here.
Don't censor yourself.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, I mean, it's a lot of it doesn't resonate with me. But I mean, I think it's put on a pretty high pedestal in terms of the online poetry community. But again, like Fresh said, it's not all of it is for Fresh or for me. Again, I'm trying to be very
and some of it just sucks. I'll say it. Some of it just sucks.
Okay.
And
yes.
So here's my relationship with Button. Is I discovered it not via YouTube, but in fact via Instagram. And I don't know how I found it. You'd be scrolling the Explore feed and oh shit, here's someone performing a poem. You can usually pretty much tell because it's one person, no background, just them and the mic, whatever, right? Maybe they got a book in front of them. Oh shit, this is a poetry video.
Yeah.
So I watched that. I was like, oh, sick, Well, cool. I found a space for poetry on this medium. And then they got clean little link tree to go watch the full lengths or whatever. Fucking awesome. This is sick. But Button has a comment section like everywhere else in the world.
It's ruined.
And how dare you leave any feedback that isn't 100% positive. And this is what I didn't understand, because it should be okay. And I feel it should in fact be good to have a standard if you're going to promote stuff. Just existing and having feelings does not make your art good. And I have called that out once or twice in my life. So I am no longer allowed on the Button Poetry Instagram page. They blocked me. Oh, yeah, they blocked me.
Fuck's
The fucking
sakes.
cunts.
They censored you?
Yeah, they literally censored me, which I thought was so fucked up because I whenever I would make a discerning comment, like point out, and I was never a troll. I wasn't just like, this is shit. Or whatever, as much as someone would say like, oh, that line really spoke to me, or like, oh, this is a really sick piece for this reason or whatever, I would leave like a reasonable, valuable criticism, right? That with some basis for it. And they blocked me. And eventually it got to a point before they had where I was watching their standards falling, and you could tell that they were promoting artists. This is something you didn't say, is like they obviously do paid promotion. So I mean, and whatever, that's their platform. Fucking do whatever you want. But it's also a public platform, so I'm allowed to say whatever the fuck I want.
Sure.
Until I'm not. But I believe the last thing I ever commented was like, oh, y'all have no bar at all anymore. And then next time I tried to go there, I was like, hey, where'd Button's page go? And then I jumped on one of my other accounts and I looked at it, I was like, these motherfuckers blocked me. Yeah. You sons of bitches. But so they're kind of a punchline in the poetry community because they will just put out anything, and there's a certain amount of like heartstrings that need to be pulled to be a successful Button poem,
No, for sure.
Anyway,
I think I'll snap to that.
I mean, it goes back to like, because most of those videos are from slams, so like most of them are probably from features who are at slams, and even like most of them probably are slams, like are from slams that they have at their location.
Right.
So I mean, they're being judged in the audience. So why can't you judge them on Instagram or on YouTube or whatever?
Why can't anyone? Yeah, just as someone would judge me. I don't know. It's just, I just thought that was the pussiest thing in the world. Like, fuck you guys. Anyway, so fuck Button. That's me.
I got a fuck button.
Sorry. Good. I was seeing pictures. Yeah. All right. Any final words, fellas? I think we're gonna wrap this one up for the day.
If I had any, it's just big thanks to fucking Benny coming out, man.
Yeah,
like, this has just been a very enriching experience. Fuck it, episode 2, but an experience alone, it's just been fantastic.
It's been fun, man. I was super nervous to be on this, and it was super easy. I was really kind of blown away. Like just this casual, like, conversational, like space you have here. It's pretty awesome, and you guys are pretty cool dudes too. So it was really easy to talk to you. I mean, like we're all like nerds at heart. So it's
absolutely
it definitely works. But like closing remarks though, like don't take for granted like the art community. Like and that is what I wanted to say that earlier, but I thought it'd be a really cool closing remark, because like that's why I'm getting out. That's why I kind of been fading out of like this like art space, is because like I think like the community, like, because when you have something every single month, people are like, oh well, I'll miss it this month, but I'll go next month. Sure. Mm-hmm. And then they miss that month, and they're like, you know what, I'll go next month, and it just became pushing it back and back and back. And I have a poem about this, and like, poetry isn't always going to be a priority. I get it. Or art isn't always going to be a priority. But I feel like if people really want it to stick around, they have to make it a priority. And it's a shame when I've seen so many people come and go, and it kind of broke my heart to kind of like to take a step back. But at the end of the day, like, just don't take it for granted.
That's why people like Ryan. Or like the other slam committee members are so valuable, because they are not poets and they support the community, right. And then it's beautiful when that space is always there for you. Like you said, it doesn't always have to be a priority, but if you want it to stay alive, as per the metaphor in your beautiful poem, it's a garden. You got to tend it.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
So
thanks Benny for coming and doing this. I learned a fuck ton, and I probably should have went to some of those nights.
Thanks for support, buddy.
Sorry, man. My life sucks sometimes. It's hard to get out of bed. But yeah, final remarks. Yeah, I agree 100% with Benny. Don't take the art community for granted. It's something I gotta like work on myself. I want to start going and supporting my friends more, and whatever the fuck are you gonna do?
I ain't gonna shit for a little
You gotta
bit.
start blacksmithing and singing or something at the same time. We'll make a whole opera about it. It'd be dope. It'd be fucking dope. Anyway, yeah, don't take the art community for granted, and just find a craft, love it, and do it for yourself. Don't do it for others. Do it. Don't do it for the likes. Do it for the love, baby. Ooh.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. What are you, Fresh?
I don't have much to say that we haven't said here already.
Sick.
I think it's fantastic. And Benny, thank you so much, man. I had a ton of fucking fun. You're welcome back whenever the hell you want to rant and rave with us.
Whenever you want me here, man, I'll be here for sure.
Okay, sick. And other than that, like, yes, like what you were saying, like find that space of expression for yourself if you don't already have it. It's a beautiful thing, might change your life. And be happy with yourself.